Hogwarts Castle, late evening. Madame Pomfrey hated two things more than almost anything: mess and mystery. This night had both. A third-year boy sat on a bed in the hospital wing, sleeves rolled up. His arm was covered in angry red spots that looked like tiny burns. He kept scratching, then wincing, then scratching again. "Hands," Pomfrey said, "sharp as a ruler. If you tear the skin, it will get worse." "Yes, ma'am," the boy said, embarrassed. Pomfrey leaned closer. Her wand tip hovered a finger's width above the rash. She whispered a spell. The spots shimmered, like they didn't like being noticed. "Not dragon pox," she muttered. Not a simple curse either. Her jaw tightened. Something about it felt wrong. Not powerful. Not dramatic. Just wrong. Like a splinter under a fingernail. Behind her, the candles flickered. That happened sometimes in the wing. Old magic. Drafts. Moody weather. But then the air changed. It went cold in a way that had nothing to do with winter. Pomfrey straightened slowly. The hairs on her arms rose. She turned toward the far wall, near a cabinet of potions and bandages. A dark ripple spread across the stone, like ink in water. Not a portal like the one she had seen in stories. This looked thinner, meaner, like the world had been cut with a blade. A tall figure stepped out. He wore a long black coat that brushed the floor. A pale mask shaped like a bird's beak hid his face. Round glass eyes stared without blinking. Leather gloves covered his hands. The boy on the bed made a small, scared noise. Pomfrey lifted her wand in one smooth motion. "Stop right there," she said. "Who are you?" The stranger stood very still, as if he respected the rules of a clinic. Then he bowed, slow and careful. "Good evening," he said, voice calm and even. "I am a physician." Pomfrey's grip tightened. "You're in a school," she snapped. "A very protected school. How did you get in?" The stranger's head tilted, like he was listening to a sound only he could hear. "I followed the symptoms," he said. "They led me here." He looked at the boy's arm. The beaked mask turned, the glass eyes fixed on the rash. "You," he said softly. "You are unwell." The boy shrank back. "I'm fine," he lied. Pomfrey stepped between them. "He's under my care. You will not touch him." The stranger did not argue. He simply raised one gloved hand a little, palm open, like a doctor asking permission to examine. "I do not wish to offend," he said, "but there is pestilence in this place." Pomfrey's stomach sank. "That is not a word we use lightly." "I use it correctly," the stranger replied. A soft flutter came from a nearby perch. Pomfrey had a small raven there tonight, a bird a student had brought in with a broken wing. It was sleeping, head tucked under feathers. The ripple of cold deepened. The raven stirred. Its body twitched, as if something squeezed it from inside. Its eyes opened wide, then rolled back. Pomfrey swore under her breath. She moved to the perch. The stranger moved too. He was faster than she expected. Not like a sprinter, like someone who knew exactly where to step. In 2 long strides, he was at the perch. Pomfrey thrust her wand out. Back. His gloved hand brushed the raven's chest. The bird went still. For half a second, the wing was silent. Then the raven jerked upright. Its neck moved in stiff, wrong angles. Its wing did not hang like a broken wing anymore. It hung like a loose tool, useless, but not painful. The raven's eyes were open, but there was no fear in them. No life either. It hopped once, twice. Then it faced the stranger, as if waiting for orders. The boy screamed. Pomfrey's heart slammed against her ribs. She pointed her wand at the stranger's chest. "What did you do?" The stranger's voice stayed calm. "I treated it," he said. "It was suffering." "That is not treatment," Pumphrey hissed. "That is—" She did not finish. She did not have the right word. The stranger turned toward the boy on the bed again, the beak of his mask aimed like a needle. Pumphrey stepped sideways, blocking him. "Leave," she said. "Now!" The stranger paused. For the first time, something like impatience entered his stillness. The raven hopped to his shoulder and settled there like a trained pet. Pumphrey had seen many strange things in her life. She had seen cursed objects bite. She had seen potions boil without fire. She had seen dragons on charts and memories in bottles. But this made her feel like she was standing in a room with death, and death was polite. "Albus," she said, voice low, as she flicked her wand toward the silver bell on her desk. It rang, sharp and clear, a simple call that every teacher knew. Footsteps thundered in the corridor outside. The door burst open. Professor McGonagall strode in first, tartan robes swishing, eyes hard. Professor Snape followed like a shadow, wand already raised. Behind them came Dumbledore, calm and tall, his blue eyes taking in everything at once. The stranger turned to face them. He bowed again, just as calmly as before. "Headmaster," the stranger said, as if he had expected him. Snape's lips curled. "What are you?" he asked, voice like ice. "A doctor," the stranger answered. McGonagall stared at the raven perched on his shoulder. "That bird is dead," she said, horrified. "No," the stranger corrected. "It is improved." Pumphrey swallowed. "He did that with a touch," she said quickly. "He's not a wizard. I felt no spell like ours." Dumbledore stepped forward, not fast, not slow, just steady. "Welcome to Hogwarts," he said. His tone was gentle, but the air around him felt firm, like a locked door. "You arrived uninvited. You frightened my students. You changed a living creature into something else." The stranger's head tilted again. "I prevented suffering," he said. Dumbledore glanced at the boy's arm, then back to the mask. "You mentioned pestilence," he said. "Tell me this. What do you believe the pestilence is?" For a moment, the stranger did not move. Then he pointed one gloved finger, not at a person, but at the room itself, at the walls, at the beds, at the castle beyond. "It is in this place," he said. "It is in this castle." And in that calm voice, Pumphrey heard something that made her colder than the night air. Certainty. Dumbledore did not drag the stranger through the halls. He did not shout or threaten. He simply made it clear, with a quiet strength, that the stranger would come with him. 2 suits of armor clanked to life at a gesture from Dumbledore's wand. They marched on either side like guards. McGonagall walked close, chin high. Snape stayed half a step behind the stranger, wand ready, eyes hunting for tricks. The raven stayed on the stranger's shoulder, still and obedient. Students peered out from behind doors as the group passed. A few gasped when they saw the beaked mask. A few whispered, Is that a plague doctor?" The words spread like sparks. Harry Potter heard the commotion as he left the common room with Hermione and Ron. They had been heading to the library because Hermione had decided that a simple bedtime story is never simple at Hogwarts. They stopped when they saw teachers moving fast and students whispering. Ron grabbed a younger boy. "What's going on?" The boy's eyes were wide. "Someone's in the castle," he whispered. A doctor. Like from old times. And he killed a bird and made it walk." Harry's stomach turned. "Made it walk?" Hermione's eyes sharpened. "That sounds like some kind of reanimation spell." Ron looked like he might be sick. "That's not a spell we should be hearing about in a hallway." Harry stared down the corridor where the teachers had vanished. Something in his scar prickled, but not in the sharp way Voldemort made it hurt. This felt different, like a warning without a name. "Library," Hermione said firmly. "Now." Ron groaned. "Why is the answer always library?" "Because books tell you what you're dealing with," Hermione snapped. Then she softened. "And because Professor Dumbledore will handle the rest. He always does." Harry did not answer. He wanted to believe that. Up in the headmaster's office, the air smelled like lemon drops and old paper. Portraits mumbled. Fawkes watched from his perch, bright and calm. The stranger stood in the middle of the room, hands folded like a man waiting for an appointment. Dumbledore took the seat behind his desk. McGonagall stood to his right. Snape stood to his left, like a blade that had decided to become a person. Pomfrey stood near the door, refusing to leave until she knew her patients were safe. Dumbledore began with the same thing he always began with when the world turned strange. Questions. "You say you are a physician," Dumbledore said. "What is your name?" The stranger paused. "Names are complicated," he said. "You may call me Doctor." Snape gave a short, humorless laugh. "How convenient." Dumbledore did not react to Snape's tone. "Very well," he said. "Doctor, you came through something that was not a normal door. You are in a world with magic. You do not seem shocked." "I have seen worse than shock," the doctor said. "Shock is brief," Pomfrey frowned. "What is your training?" she demanded. "Where is your license? Your education? Your right to touch anyone in my school?" The doctor turned to her and bowed slightly. "You're the chief of medicine here," he said, as if that settled it. "I respect your position." "That was not an answer," Pomfrey snapped. Dumbledore lifted a hand. "We will ask one question at a time," he said gently. He flicked his wand. A soft blue light swept over the doctor from head to toe. A simple scan, not an attack. The light returned to Dumbledore's wand tip, like water flowing back into a cup. Dumbledore's brows rose slightly. "Curious," he murmured. "What?" McGonagall asked. "He's not under Polyjuice Potion," Dumbledore said. "He's not a transfigured student. He's not a basic illusion." Snape's eyes narrowed. He made a quick motion with his wand, a spell that checked for possession and parasites of the mind. The doctor did not flinch, even when the spell crawled over him like cold fingers. Snape's face went hard. "Not possessed," he said, almost annoyed. Pomfrey crossed her arms. "Not a wizard, not a normal man," she said. "Then what is he?" The doctor looked at Dumbledore again. "I am what I said," he replied. "A physician, and I have a duty." "What duty?" Dumbledore asked. "To cure the pestilence," the doctor said, as if he were saying the sky was blue. Dumbledore leaned forward slightly. "Describe it," he said. "This pestilence." The doctor's mask turned slowly, taking in the portraits, the shelves, the phoenix, the silver instruments, like he was studying a new kind of hospital. "It is a condition," he said. "It spreads quietly. It hides behind normal habits. It causes decay of the mind and spirit. Many do not see it until it is too late." McGonagall's voice sharpened. "That could describe any evil," she said. "Any cruelty. Any bad choice." The doctor's head tilted. "Yes," he said simply, "which is why it is dangerous." Snape stepped closer, wand tip rising. "And your cure?" he asked. The doctor's gloved hands lifted slightly. "Mercy," he said. Pomfrey's eyes flashed. "Mercy does not kill living things and make them walk," she said. The doctor looked at her, calm. "You call it killing," he said. "I call it removing suffering." Dumbledore's voice stayed gentle, but it held steel now. "You changed a raven," he said, "without consent, without warning. You will not touch another creature in my school." The doctor did not argue at first. He stood still, as if considering a medical rule. Then he said, "If the pestilence is present, delay is harm." Snape's mouth tightened. "Hear that?" he said to Dumbledore, low. "He just told you he will do what he wants." Dumbledore held the doctor's gaze through the glass eyes of the mask. "If you do what you want," Dumbledore said, "you will be stopped." The room felt heavy for a moment, like everyone had breathed in at once. The doctor bowed again, slower this time. "I will cooperate," he said. "For now. I will observe. I will diagnose." McGonagall whispered. "Albus!" Dumbledore lifted a finger. "Doctor," he said, "you will stay in a controlled location. You will be watched. You will have no access to students." "Agreed," the doctor said. Pomfrey did not like how quickly he agreed. It felt like a person saying yes to a rule while already planning to step around it. Dumbledore stood. "Severus," he said, "please prepare the space." Snape gave a small nod. His eyes said he had already prepared 3 different spaces and 3 different traps. As they moved to leave, the door opened without knocking. Dolores Umbridge stepped in like she owned the room. Her smile was wide. Her eyes were not. "Headmaster," she sang, sweet as syrup. "I heard there has been a disturbance." McGonagall stiffened. "This is not a ministry issue," she snapped. Umbridge's smile did not change. "Oh, but it is," she said. "If there is danger at Hogwarts, the ministry must be informed. Think of the children." Pomfrey's hands curled into fists. Umbridge used that line like a key to unlock any door. Umbridge's gaze landed on the doctor. Her smile brightened, like she had just found a prize. "Well," she said softly, "what a fascinating person." The doctor turned his mask toward her. He did not bow this time. He simply watched. Umbridge clasped her hands. "We will of course want to understand what you are," she said, voice gentle, "and what you can do for public safety." Snape stepped in front of the doctor like a wall. "He is being handled," he said. Umbridge's eyes flicked to Snape, then to Dumbledore. "Handled," she repeated. "How comforting." Dumbledore's tone remained polite. "Dolores," he said, "you may tell the minister that Hogwarts is secure." Umbridge gave a tiny laugh. "Secure," she echoed again. "Headmaster, I do so love your confidence." She leaned slightly toward the doctor, as if speaking to a guest at tea. "Doctor," she said, "would you like assistance? Resources? A proper place to work? We can arrange many things." The doctor's voice stayed calm. "Do you have patients?" he asked. Umbridge blinked, then smiled wider. "We have criminals," she said carefully. "People who have harmed others. People who could be used to protect society." Pomfrey felt sick. She knew what Umbridge was offering. Not healing, not science. A weapon. Dumbledore's eyes cooled. "That will not happen," he said. Umbridge sighed as if he were being difficult about a school rule. "We will see," she said lightly. When she left, the room did not feel warmer. It felt more crowded, even with one less person in it. Dumbledore turned to the doctor. "You will come with us," he said. The doctor bowed once. "As you wish," he replied. As they moved through the hallways again, hidden under cloak-like shadows and teacher guards, another set of eyes noticed something too. Far away, beyond Hogwarts, beyond the lake and forest, beyond the safe lines people like to draw around their world, a cold mind brushed against the castle. Lord Voldemort did not see the doctor with his eyes. He felt him, a foreign shape, a wrong note in a familiar song. Voldemort's thin lips curved in the dark. "Interesting," he whispered to the empty air. Something new has come to my school. Back at Hogwarts, Snape led the Doctor down a corridor most students never used. The stone changed here. Older. Rougher. They stopped at a sealed classroom door. Snape drew his wand. He made a quick series of movements. Lines of magic crawled over the door like fine wire. Then another layer. Then another. Protection stacked on protection. McGonagall watched, impressed despite herself. Pomfrey watched, still not satisfied. Dumbledore watched, calm but alert. Snape opened the door. Inside, the room was plain. Empty desks, old chalkboards, dust. It smelled like forgotten lessons. "The room will do," the Doctor said, as if he were choosing a bed. Snape's voice was low. "There are rules," he said. "You will not leave without permission." The Doctor looked at him. "Do you enjoy rules?" he asked. Snape's eyes flashed. "I enjoy survival," he said. The Doctor gave a small nod. "Then we share a goal," he replied. As they sealed the door again, Pomfrey felt a tightness in her chest that would not go away. Something had entered Hogwarts. It wore manners like gloves, and it believed, with all its calm heart, that it was right. The next morning, Harry woke up to whispers. By breakfast, the great hall buzzed like a beehive. "There's a doctor in the castle," a Hufflepuff said, eyes huge. A dead bird followed him. "A dead bird?" Ron repeated, halfway through a bite of toast. He stopped chewing. "Why would anyone say that like it's normal?" Hermione had already pulled out her schedule like it could protect her. "It might be a rumor," she said, but her voice did not sound sure. Fred and George Weasley leaned over from farther down the table. "A doctor, you say?" Fred asked, grin sharp. "Does he prescribe days off homework?" George added. Ron groaned. "Don't," he warned. Fred ignored him. "We should visit," he said, eyes shining with trouble. George nodded. "We've got just the thing, a brand new product." Ron frowned. "What product?" Fred pulled a cheap wooden clipboard from under his robe like it was a wand. "Official medical clipboard," he announced. George produced a fake stethoscope made from string and shiny bits. "We'll sell him a full set," he said, "for safety." Hermione looked horrified. "You are not going near—" Too late. The twins were already sliding away into the crowd. Harry watched them go, then looked up at the teacher's table. Dumbledore's face was calm, but his eyes were tired. McGonagall looked strict. Snape looked like he had not slept at all. Umbridge sat there too, smiling into her tea like nothing was wrong. Harry's stomach tightened. "She's here," he muttered. Hermione followed his gaze. "That means the Ministry knows," she whispered. "That's bad." Ron swallowed hard. "Everything the Ministry touches gets worse," he said. Harry pushed his plate away. "We need to know what this doctor is," he said. Hermione nodded at once. "Library," she said. Ron slapped a hand over his face. "Of course," he groaned. They went anyway. In the library, Hermione moved fast, pulling books from shelves with purpose. Harry scanned titles, but most of them looked like they were written in a language older than time. Ron found a book with a skull on the cover and shoved it away. "Nope," he said. Hermione found a dusty text about magical sickness. "Plagues," she whispered, flipping pages. "Curses that act like illness. Spells that spread. There are horrible things in history." Harry's eyes landed on a line about unnatural animation. He frowned. "That sounds like Inferi," he said quietly. Ron went pale. "Don't say that," he muttered. Hermione looked up sharply. "Inferi are controlled by dark magic," she said. "But the rumor said he did it with a touch, not a spell." Harry's scar prickled again. Faint. It was like being watched from very far away. He rubbed his forehead. "Whatever this is," he said, "it's not normal." He did not know how right he was. That afternoon, Hogwarts tried to pretend it was a normal school. Classes happened. Homework was given. Students whispered behind hands. But the castle felt different, like it was holding its breath. Behind a sealed door, the doctor stood alone in the dusty classroom. He had no desk, so he used the floor. He had pulled a scrap of parchment from somewhere and a bit of charcoal. He drew lines, boxes, notes, a medical chart made for a world that did not use quills. He wrote carefully. Subject: castle. Symptoms: fear, rumor, decay. Observation: magic present. Unusual. Possible vector: unknown. He paused and listened. The castle had sounds. Staircases shifting. Voices in halls. The distant call of an owl. The soft hum of old wards. He could not see the pestilence like a color, but he could sense it like a pattern, like an illness you smell on a breath. He tilted his head. Yes, it was here. Then he heard something else. A scrape at the door. A whisper. A giggle? The wards on the door did not break. They did not even bend. But something slid under the gap at the bottom. A clipboard. It came with a note attached. Welcome, Doctor. Official medical supplies for sale. Special student discount. Please sign here for consent. The doctor stared at it. He did not laugh. He did not get angry. He picked it up slowly. He read it again. Then, with calm care, he took the charcoal and wrote one line across the bottom. Consent is essential. He slid it back under the door. Outside, Fred and George saw it and froze. George whispered, Did he take us seriously?" Fred swallowed, grinned smaller now. "I don't know," he said, "but I don't like it." That night, the first real disaster happened. It began like a normal problem. A student collapsed in a corridor near the Charms classroom. A fifth-year girl. Her friend screamed. Someone ran for help. Professor Flitwick arrived first, small and quick. He checked her pulse with a charm, then frowned. "She's cold," he said. "Too cold." Madame Pomfrey arrived seconds later, robe flying, hair slightly undone. She knelt and checked the girl's eyes, then her wrist. "No curse marks," Pomfrey said, voice tight. "No blood, no sign of a hex." The girl's lips were pale. Her breathing was shallow. Pomfrey looked at Flitwick. "Levitate," she ordered. "Now." "Hospital wing." They lifted the girl into the air and rushed her down the hallway. Students pressed against walls to make room. Harry, Hermione, and Ron were coming from a study group when they saw it. Harry's heart dropped. "What happened?" Pomfrey did not answer. She was already running. Ron stared at the girl's limp body. "She looks like—" He stopped. "Like death." Hermione grabbed Harry's sleeve. "We should help," she said. Harry nodded and ran after them. When they reached the hospital wing, Pomfrey snapped orders at the beds like she was fighting a battle. "Warmth charm. Pepper up potion. Check for poison. Get me every antidote you can think of." Nothing worked. The girl's chest rose and fell, but it was weaker each minute. Pomfrey felt panic bite her, sharp and ugly. She hated it. She did not have time for it. But she could not ignore it. This felt like the rash from last night, like a sickness that did not follow rules. And then the bell on her desk rang again. A teacher entered, breathless. "Headmaster is coming," he said, "and he's bringing—" The door opened. Dumbledore stepped in, face calm but eyes alert. McGonagall followed. Snape followed. And behind them, walking like he'd been invited to a lecture, came the doctor. Pomfrey's stomach twisted. "No," she said, sharp. "Absolutely not." Dumbledore did not look away from the girl. "Minerva," he said softly. "Severus. Watch." Snape's wand was already raised. McGonagall's jaw was tight. The doctor approached the bed. Pomfrey moved to block him. "You will not touch her," she said. "Do you hear me?" The doctor's mask turned toward her. "She is dying," he said. "She is a child," Pomfrey snapped. "She is a patient," the doctor replied, voice calm. "And she is suffering." Hermione, standing near the doorway, grabbed Harry's arm. Her eyes were wide. "This is it," she whispered. "This is the doctor." Ron whispered, "Why is he here?" Harry did not answer. He watched the doctor's hands, gloved, still. Dumbledore stepped beside Pomfrey. His voice was gentle but firm. "Doctor," he said, "you will not touch her without my permission." The doctor tilted his head. "Then grant it," he said. Snape's voice cut in. "Over my dead body," he said. The doctor turned towards Snape. "That can be arranged," he said, not as a threat, but as a fact. McGonagall stiffened. "Enough!" she snapped. Dumbledore held up a hand. Silence fell. He looked at the girl. He looked at Pomfrey. He looked at the doctor. Dumbledore did not want the doctor's help, but Dumbledore also did not watch children die when there was even one chance to save them. His eyes narrowed slightly, like a man choosing the least terrible door. "One moment," Dumbledore said. He placed his wand on the girl's forehead and whispered a spell older than most students in the school. A light spread across her skin like a thin veil. Dumbledore's face tightened. "There is something," he said quietly. "Not a curse. Not poison." Pomfrey's voice shook. "Then what is it?" Dumbledore looked at the doctor. "You believe this is your pestilence?" he said. "I know it is," the doctor replied. Dumbledore took a breath. "You will do nothing," he said, "unless I see what you intend." The doctor bowed. "Of course," he said. He reached into his coat and pulled out a small bundle of cloth. Pomfrey tensed, wand up, ready. The doctor unfolded the cloth and revealed simple tools: a small scalpel, a needle, small glass vials. They looked like Muggle doctor tools. Hermione stared, confused. "Those aren't wands," she whispered. The doctor did not use them. He set the cloth down, like a ritual. Then he lifted one gloved hand. Slowly, carefully. He placed it on the girl's shoulder. Pomfrey opened her mouth to shout. But Dumbledore's hand touched Pomfrey's wrist, stopping her. His eyes were locked on the doctor's hand. The doctor pressed. The girl's body went stiff. Her eyes flew open, wide with terror for 1 second. Then they went blank. Her chest stopped moving. The room filled with a sound, like nothing at all. A silence that punched. Pomfrey made a sound in her throat that was half rage, half grief. Snape moved in an instant. Wand snapping up, ready to strike. McGonagall's eyes flashed. "You—" The doctor lifted his hand away. He spoke softly. "The suffering is ended." Pomfrey lunged. Wand pointed at his mask. "Get out," she hissed. "Get out before I—" Dumbledore stepped between them. His voice was low now, dangerous in its calm. "Doctor," he said, "what have you done?" The doctor looked at the dead girl like a man looking at a problem he had solved. "I have cured her," he said. "You killed her," Pomfrey spat. "I removed the pestilence's hold," the doctor replied. "Now, I will restore function." He placed his hand on her chest. Everyone froze. The doctor pressed again, longer this time. The girl's body jerked. Her back arched off the bed. Then she sat up. Not like a waking child, like a puppet pulled upright. Her head turned toward the doctor. Her eyes were open, but empty. Her mouth hung slightly open, as if she had forgotten how to close it. She swung her legs off the bed with stiff movements. She stood. Pomfrey stumbled back, hand over her mouth. Hermione's face went white. Ron let out a small, broken sound. Harry's stomach dropped into his shoes. It wasn't infurious. Not exactly, but close enough to make his skin crawl. The girl took one step toward the doctor. Then she stopped and waited, like a dog waiting for a command. The doctor turned to Dumbledore. "You see," he said. "Improved. Useful. No suffering." Dumbledore's eyes hardened. "That is not life," he said. His voice was still quiet. That made it worse. "That is not a cure." The doctor's head tilted. "Life is not the goal," he said. "Health is the goal." Snape's wand was inches from the doctor's chest now. "Move," Snape said, voice shaking with controlled fury, "and I will put you on the floor." The doctor did not move toward Snape. He moved toward the door. 2 steps. Calm, like he was leaving after a visit. The dead girl followed him. Snape fired first. A spell flashed and struck the floor in front of the doctor, exploding stone into dust. The doctor stopped, not startled, just blocked. McGonagall flicked her wand, and the beds rolled back, clearing space. "Ministry approved or not," she snapped, "this is a threat." Pomfrey shook, tears in her eyes, voice raw. "That was a child," she whispered. Dumbledore lifted his wand. The air changed. Even Harry, who had seen Dumbledore fight, felt it like pressure in the lungs, like standing too close to a storm. "Doctor," Dumbledore said, "you will return to your room. Now." The doctor looked at him. "There are more," he said simply. "More infected." Dumbledore's eyes stayed on him. "Not like this," he said. The doctor's voice grew slightly sharper. "Delay spreads pestilence," he said. Then, without warning, the dead girl moved. She lunged at Snape. Snape twisted, fast as a whip. He grabbed her wrist and turned her, using her own stiff motion against her. He did not hit her hard. He did not want to shatter bones. He wanted control. "Petrificus totalis," Hermione cried from the doorway, voice trembling but clear. The spell hit the dead girl. For a second, her limbs locked. Then her fingers twitched. Then her head jerked. Then slowly, she pushed through it. Hermione stared, shocked. "That should have held." "Whatever she is," Snape snapped, "it is not normal." The doctor lifted a hand, not touching anyone, just pointing. The dead girl turned away from Snape and charged toward the doorway. Straight toward the students. Harry moved without thinking. "Stupefy!" he shouted. The red spell hit her chest. She staggered back half a step. Then she kept coming. Ron backed up, eyes wide. "Harry!" Harry grabbed Ron's sleeve and shoved him behind a bed. Hermione fired again and again. "Stupefy! Stupefy!" The dead girl absorbed the spells like they were heavy rain. She slowed, but she did not stop. McGonagall's voice cracked like a whip. "Confringo!" The blast hit the floor beside the dead girl, throwing her sideways into a wall. Stone cracked. Dust rained. The girl hit the wall with a dull thud and slid down. She did not scream. She did not cry. She simply tried to stand again, stiff and silent. Pomfrey pressed a hand to her mouth. "No," she whispered. Like if she said it enough, the nightmare would stop. Dumbledore's wand moved in a clean circle. Golden lines appeared in the air, wrapping around the dead girl like bands. They tightened. She stopped moving. The doctor watched, head tilted, like a teacher watching a student solve a problem in a strange way. "Remarkable," he said. Snape's voice was a hiss. "Do not admire us," he said. "You caused this." The doctor looked at Snape. "I revealed it," he replied. Dumbledore's patience snapped into action. He pointed his wand at the doctor's chest and spoke a spell that felt like a command the castle itself obeyed. The floor under the doctor's boots hardened into a raised circle of stone. It rose like a collar around him, pinning his feet. The doctor tried to step. He could not. He looked down once, then up again, calm even now. "A clever restraint," he said. Snape added a second layer, sharp and fast. Thin lines of dark magic wove into the stone like barbed wire, not to cut, but to hold. McGonagall added another. A shimmering wall sprang up, clear as glass, between the doctor and the students. Pomfrey stared at the locked-down doctor and the bound dead girl, and felt her knees go weak. This was not a fight in a corridor. This was not a prank gone wrong. This was something that could spread. Dumbledore looked at the doctor. "You will remain here," he said. "You will be moved to a safer location. You will not touch anyone again." The doctor's voice stayed calm. "If you don't allow treatment," he said, "you choose suffering." Dumbledore's eyes flashed. "If your treatment is death," he said, "then I choose to stop you." Outside the hospital wing, the castle's alarms began to ring. Not bells, wards, a deep hum that students felt in their teeth. Teachers in halls shouted orders. Doors slammed shut and locked themselves. Windows sealed. Staircases froze in place. Hogwarts went into lockdown. Harry stood in the doorway, heart pounding, watching teachers move like a trained team. Hermione's hands were shaking, but her eyes were bright with fear and focus. Ron looked like he might faint. Harry's scar prickled again, this time sharper. Not pain, not Voldemort's rage, more like Voldemort's attention turning, like a head lifting. Because something had happened at Hogwarts that even Voldemort would not ignore. Dumbledore turned to McGonagall. "Get the students to the Great Hall," he said. "Now." McGonagall nodded and was gone in a rush of tartan and steel. Snape looked at Dumbledore. "There may be more," he said, voice tight. "If this thing has already—" Dumbledore nodded. "I know," he said. Pomfrey swallowed. "Albus," she whispered. "What is he?" Dumbledore looked at the doctor through the glass wall. The doctor stood perfectly still in his stone restraint, like a statue in a museum. Only his head moved slightly, as if listening to the castle, as if hunting. "I do not know yet," Dumbledore said quietly. "But I know this." He glanced at the bound dead girl. "If fear is a door," Dumbledore said, "he has found the key." The Great Hall filled fast. Students poured in from every corridor, guided by prefects and teachers. The room buzzed with panic and questions. Some cried, some shouted. Some clutched friends like they were life rafts. Fred and George appeared near the doors, still holding their fake stethoscope and clipboard like they were suddenly ashamed of them. George whispered, "We didn't know," like it would fix anything. Fred's face was pale under his freckles. "We thought he was just weird," he muttered. Teachers pushed tables aside to make open space. Wands drew glowing lines on the floor, marking safe zones. Order members arrived too, faces grim. Kingsley Shacklebolt, Tonks, Lupin. They moved like soldiers in a place that should never need soldiers. Dumbledore stood on the raised platform and lifted his hands. The room quieted, not because students suddenly became polite, but because Dumbledore's presence forced the chaos to pause. "There is danger," Dumbledore said, voice clear. "You will stay together. You will listen to your professors. You will not wander. You will not play hero." Harry felt Dumbledore's eyes flick to him for half a second. Harry looked down. The doors of the Great Hall were sealed. For a moment, Hogwarts was one room full of scared children. Then, the first patient arrived. A loud thump hit one of the side doors. Again. Again. Students screamed. The door shuddered, wood cracking. McGonagall's voice cut through the noise. "Shields up!" Teachers raised wands in a line. A wave of magic rolled forward. A clear barrier formed, stretching from wall to wall like an invisible sheet. The side door burst inward. A body stumbled in. It was a student, a boy Harry recognized from Ravenclaw. Tall, quiet, always reading. He moved like his joints were stiff. His eyes were open, but empty. His mouth was slightly open, drool at the corner. He slammed into the barrier and kept pushing, as if he could not feel pain. Behind him, another body appeared. Then another. 3, 4, 5. The Great Hall erupted into screams again. Hermione grabbed Harry's arm. "They're like the girl," she whispered, voice shaking. "He's made more." Ron stared, face green. "How?" he croaked. Harry's fists clenched. "We stopped them," he said. The patients pressed against the barrier, hands scraping, fingers bending the wrong way without stopping. Flitwick fired controlled spells that wrapped their ankles in ropes of light, trying to hold them without breaking bones. McGonagall transfigured the floor under them into sticky, tar-like stone. Their feet sank, slowing them. Snape moved like a shadow along the teacher line, firing precise hexes that cut movement, disrupted balance, and forced stillness. But the patients did not fear. They did not hesitate. They only pushed. Dumbledore raised his wand. A bright arc of magic swept over the barrier like a second layer, thicker and stronger. The barrier hummed. The patients slammed into it and bounced back, then came again. Students cried and pressed together. Fred and George looked at each other, the joke gone from their faces. George whispered, "We need to help." Fred swallowed. "Without dying," he said. From the far end of the hall, a loud crack sounded. A figure appeared beside Umbridge. A ministry wizard in a dark coat, wide-eyed. He whispered in her ear. Umbridge's smile returned, small and pleased. She stepped forward, voice loud and sugary. "Children," she called, "remain calm. The ministry is here." McGonagall's head snapped toward her. "This is not the time." Umbridge lifted a hand. "Oh, Minerva," she said, sweetly. "When danger strikes, it is always time for proper authority." Dumbledore did not look at her. His eyes were on the barrier, because the barrier began to strain, not from raw power, from numbers, from pressure, like a door being pushed by a crowd. Dumbledore's eyes narrowed. "Severus," he said quietly. Snape was already moving. He flicked his wand toward the ceiling. Chains of black magic shot down like snakes, wrapping around the patients and yanking them back from the barrier. Some fell. Some hit the floor and tried to stand again. Tonks rushed forward, using her own spells to add bindings, shouting for space, for order, for calm. Lupin's face was tight, eyes haunted, like he had seen this kind of wrongness before. And then the doctor arrived, not through the Great Hall doors. Through a side passage that should have been sealed, he stepped out as calmly as if he had been invited to the feast. 2 patients followed him like guards. The entire hall froze. Even the patients at the barrier turned their heads slightly toward him, like sunflowers turning toward light. Harry's heart hammered. "How did he began." Hermione's voice shook. "He got out," she whispered. Snape's head snapped toward the doctor. His face went white with fury. "Impossible!" he hissed. The doctor looked around the Great Hall like he was inspecting a ward. "So many," he said, almost pleased. "So much exposure. So much risk." Pomfrey's voice cracked. "What have you done?" she shouted. "What have you done to my students?" The doctor's head turned toward her. "I have treated the infected," he said. "They are dead," Pomfrey screamed. "They are relieved," the doctor replied. Dumbledore stepped forward, wand raised, power steady and huge. "Doctor," he said, voice like a warning, "this ends now." The doctor faced him. Even with a mask, Harry could feel the doctor's attention lock onto Dumbledore like a scalpel finding the heart. "You resist treatment," the doctor said. "Why?" "Because your treatment is murder," Dumbledore replied. The doctor's voice stayed calm. "Death is a tool," he said. "Like a knife. It can harm, or it can heal." Dumbledore did not flinch. "Not here," he said. The doctor lifted one gloved hand and pointed, not at Dumbledore, but at the crowd of students. The patients in the hall shifted, not attacking yet, waiting, like soldiers waiting for a signal. Students screamed again. Harry felt heat rise in his chest. His wand was in his hand before he even realized it. Dumbledore's voice cut through the panic. "No one move," he said to the students. Then, softer, to the doctor. "You will not touch them." The doctor's head tilted. "Then you accept pestilence," he said. Dumbledore's eyes narrowed. "Then I accept a fight," he replied. The duel began, not with a flashy explosion, with control. Dumbledore flicked his wand. The stone floor between him and the doctor rose like a wave, forming a wall. The doctor did not jump. He did not run. He simply stepped sideways. The wall slammed down where he had been. Snape fired a spell that would have pinned a normal man to the wall like a bug. The doctor moved again, precise. The spell hit one of the patients instead. The patient froze, then cracked as the magic held too hard. The doctor did not react to the broken body like it mattered. "That one was unstable," he said quietly, as if noting a flaw in a bandage. McGonagall's eyes blazed. "You are disgusting," she snarled, and transfigured the air around the doctor into a tight cage of iron bars. The bars snapped into place. For half a second, it worked. Then the doctor's patients slammed into it from the sides, smashing their bodies against the bars, again and again. Bones broke. They did not stop. The bars bent. The doctor stepped through the opening. Harry stared. Sick. "He uses them like shields," he whispered. Hermione's face was pale. "He doesn't think they're people anymore," she said. Ron's voice shook. "But they are," he whispered. "They were." The doctor moved toward Dumbledore with calm steps. Dumbledore met him. Their magic and presence collided like two rules trying to occupy the same space. Dumbledore's spells were clean and powerful. Walls, ropes of light, barriers shaped like shields. The doctor's power was not like that. He did not throw fire. He did not blast lightning. He applied pressure through death and control. He lifted his hand once. One patient sprinted across the hall and tackled a teacher from behind. The teacher hit the floor hard. Students screamed. Tonks knocked the patient away with a strong spell. It rolled, then stood again. Slower now. Kingsley shouted orders, sending ministry-trained shields to reinforce the teacher line. Umbridge stood behind them, untouched, watching like she was taking notes. Harry's anger flared. He saw her smile. He hated her smile. Dumbledore's voice was calm, but loud enough for the hall to hear. "Doctor," he said, "you are not a healer here. You are a threat." The doctor's head tilted. "Threat is a matter of perspective," he said. "Pain is not." He stepped closer. Snape lunged, faster than Harry had ever seen him move. His wand aimed for the doctor's wrist. The doctor's gloved hand lifted as if to meet him. Pomfrey shouted, "Severus, no!" Snape stopped an inch short, not because he feared, but because Dumbledore's wand snapped up and created a thin wall between them. Dumbledore's eyes were sharp. "Do not let him touch you," Dumbledore said, voice low. "Not even once." Snape's jaw clenched. He nodded. Harry understood then. The doctor's touch was the real weapon. The patients surged again. One broke through a binding and lurched toward the student crowd. Harry moved. He did not think. He ran out from behind the teacher line, wand up. Hermione screamed, "Harry!" Ron grabbed for him and missed. Harry slid across the stone floor, came up on one knee, and fired a stunning spell at the patient's head. It jerked back. Harry fired again. It stumbled. Harry fired a third time. It fell. For a second, it stayed down. Harry breathed hard. Then its fingers twitched. It began to rise. Harry's eyes widened. "What do I do?" he whispered. A hand grabbed his robe and yanked him back hard. "Snape." "Idiot," Snape hissed, dragging Harry behind the line. "You don't play hero when you don't understand the enemy." Harry twisted. "It was going to—" "I don't care," Snape snapped. "Stay alive." Harry's chest burned with anger, but he stayed back. He knew Snape was right, even if he hated it. Dumbledore made his move. He lifted his wand high. The ceiling above the doctor flashed. Golden lines appeared in the air, like a net made of light. They dropped fast. The net slammed down, wrapping the doctor in tight bands, pinning his arms to his sides. It hit the floor and locked with a bright clang, like a cage made of pure spellwork. The doctor struggled once, not wildly, just testing. He could not move his arms. Dumbledore's voice was steady. "You will be contained," he said, "and you will be removed from this school if I must tear open the sky to do it." The doctor was silent for a moment. Then he spoke, voice quiet. "Containment is temporary," he said. "Pestilence is patient." Dumbledore did not answer. He turned his wand slightly. The net tightened. The doctor's head tilted. "Your ethics are strong," he said, almost curious. "You do not kill easily." Dumbledore's eyes were cold now. "Do not mistake mercy for weakness," he said. Around them, teachers and order members worked fast to bind the patients. Chains of magic, transfigured walls, floating ropes, anything that held. Some patients were trapped in corners. Some were sealed behind conjured stone doors. Some were forced into stiff stillness. It was not clean. It was not pretty. But it was controlled. At last, the great hall stopped shaking with screams. Students were still crying. Some were shaking. Some were silent, like they had gone numb. Pomfrey walked among them, hands trembling as she checked faces, checked breathing, checked for bites and scratches. Her eyes were wet, but she did not stop moving. Hermione clutched her books like a shield. Ron's hand was locked around hers without him noticing. Harry watched the doctor trapped in the golden net. The doctor's glass eyes stared through the mask. They looked like they were thinking. They looked like they were planning. And then, as if on cue, a loud bang hit the main doors of the great hall. Not a patient. A fist. A human fist. The doors shook. Kingsley moved to the front, wand up. "Identify yourself," he shouted. A voice from outside called back, loud and official. "By order of the Ministry of Magic, open this door." Umbridge's smile widened. McGonagall's face twisted with disgust. Dumbledore's eyes stayed calm, but something hard settled into them. He knew what was coming. The doors opened just enough for a group of Ministry Aurors to step in. They looked around, saw bound patients, saw terrified children, saw the trapped doctor, and went pale. Then Umbridge stepped forward like she was the hero of the day. "Oh my," she said, sweet and loud. "What a dreadful scene." She turned to the Aurors and lifted her chin. "This," she said, pointing at the doctor, as if he were an object on a table, "is now a ministry matter." And in the silence that followed, Harry realized something else. Hogwarts was not only fighting a monster in a mask, it was also fighting the people who would use that monster if it helped them win. Umbridge stepped closer to the golden net that held the masked doctor. She did not go too close. She was careful like that. She let 2 Aurors move in front of her first. The Aurors raised their wands toward the prisoner. Their eyes flicked from the beaked mask to the still, empty students bound along the walls. 1 Auror swallowed hard. "Headmaster," the lead Auror said, voice tense, "we need to secure the creature. We have containment rules for dark artifacts, and it is not an artifact," Dumbledore said, calm. "And this is not your scene to command." Umbridge made a small sound of pity. "Albus, please," she said. "Sweet. Look at these children. Look at this thing." She pointed, like she was pointing at a stain. "The Ministry will handle it." McGonagall's hands clenched at her sides. Her face was tight, like she was holding back a storm. "You will not turn Hogwarts into your office," she snapped. Umbridge's smile widened, but her eyes stayed flat. "Minerva," she said softly, "if Hogwarts cannot keep students safe, Hogwarts does not get to decide what happens next." Students watched from behind teacher lines. Harry felt Hermione's nails digging into his sleeve. Ron stood with his mouth half open, as if his body forgot how to breathe. Dumbledore did not raise his voice. He did not need to. "You will not take control of my school," he said. A few Aurors shifted their feet. Kingsley Shacklebolt stood among them. He looked uneasy, not because he feared Dumbledore, but because he respected him. "Headmaster," Kingsley said carefully, "we need a plan. The Ministry will demand a plan." "A plan exists," Snape said, stepping forward. His eyes were sharp and angry. "The intruder is contained. The students are secured. The patients are being isolated." Umbridge laughed quietly. "Contained?" she repeated. "Professor Snape, how charming. He escaped your little room once already, didn't he?" Snape's jaw tightened. "Do not." Dumbledore lifted a hand again. A simple stop. He looked at the Aurors. "You may help," he said. "You may not take command. You may not remove anyone from Hogwarts without my approval." Umbridge's voice turned colder, still sweet. "And if the minister orders it?" Dumbledore's gaze stayed steady. "Then the minister will learn what it means to order the wrong person." The room went silent. Even the candles seemed to hold still. Umbridge's smile thinned. "Such drama," she sighed. "Very well. For now." She turned to the Aurors and clapped her hands once, like a teacher calling a class to attention. "We will secure the Great Hall," she said. "We will document everything. We will question staff. And we will begin a full inspection of Hogwarts." McGonagall stepped forward. "You do not have the right—" "Oh, but I do," Umbridge said, and her voice was like a closed door. "Emergency powers. For the children." Harry felt his stomach twist. He had heard that line before. It always meant someone was about to do something cruel with a smile. The masked doctor stood inside the golden net without moving. He did not struggle. He did not beg. He only watched. His head turned slightly toward Umbridge as she spoke. "Authority," he said quietly, as if tasting the word. "Interesting." Umbridge paused and looked at him like a person looks at a strange animal that might bite. "You will be quiet," she told him. He tilted his head. "Why?" he asked. "Are you unwell?" A few students gasped. A few teachers stiffened. Umbridge's smile snapped back into place. "I'm perfectly healthy," she said through her teeth. "And you will be relocated." Dumbledore's wand lifted by an inch. The air pressed down. Not hard, but clear. A warning. "You will not threaten," Dumbledore said. The doctor's voice stayed calm. "I do not threaten," he replied. "I diagnose." Umbridge turned away like she was done with him. "Take statements," she ordered the Aurors, "and make sure no one leaves this hall unless I approve." McGonagall's eyes flashed. "Dolores," she said, voice shaking with anger. "You do not." "You will obey," Umbridge said, and for the first time her voice dropped the sugar. "Or I will remove you from your post." McGonagall looked like she might hex her. Harry almost hoped she would. But Dumbledore placed a gentle hand on McGonagall's arm. He did not look at her. He looked at the hall, at the students, at the patients, at the broken door, at the fear. "Minerva," he said softly, "help the children first." McGonagall swallowed her rage and turned away. She walked down the line of students, voice firm, guiding them into calmer groups, telling them where to sit, who to stay with, who to breathe with. Pomfrey moved too. Her face looked pale and older. She checked each student's hands and arms. She searched for scratches, bruises, signs of that cold sickness. Hermione tried to keep her voice steady as she spoke to a crying first year. Ron handed his own robe to a smaller boy who was shaking. Harry watched, mind racing. The doctor watched too. And somewhere far away, in a place that did not have candles, or teachers, or safety rules, Voldemort smiled to himself. Because the school had been shaken. And when people were shaken, they made mistakes. The next day, Hogwarts felt like a castle under a strict new teacher. Aurors stood at the doors of corridors. They watched like hawks. They asked questions. They wrote notes. They looked at students like students were evidence. Umbridge walked the halls with a clipboard, her heels tapping like a threat. She smiled at frightened children, like she enjoyed their fear. Harry hated the way the castle sounded now. It sounded watched. In the staff meeting that morning, Dumbledore stood at the head of the table with a face like stone. McGonagall sat stiff beside him. Snape leaned back, arms crossed, eyes sharp. Pomfrey sat with her hands clasped tight, like she was holding herself together. Umbridge took a chair without being invited. "Good morning," she said brightly. "Let us begin." McGonagall's voice was cold. "This is not your meeting." Umbridge's smile did not change. "It is now," she said. "I have been given temporary authority to ensure compliance and safety." "By whom?" Snape asked, voice dripping poison. "By the minister," Umbridge said. "And if you wish to complain, you may write him a letter." Pomfrey looked like she might throw something. Dumbledore spoke first, calm and clear. "We are here to prevent harm," he said. "We are here to find out what that intruder is, and we are here to stop any spread." Umbridge clasped her hands. "Exactly," she said. "And the first step is simple. We hand over the creature to the ministry." "No," Dumbledore said, like it was the easiest answer in the world. Umbridge blinked, then laughed softly. "Albus," she sighed, "you cannot keep it here." "It escaped once," Snape said quietly. His eyes were on Dumbledore, not Umbridge. "If it escapes again, it will do more damage." Dumbledore's gaze met Snape's. There was no blame in it, only reality. "We will improve containment," Dumbledore said. Umbridge leaned forward. "Or," she said, voice low and sweet, "you surrender it to people trained for this." Kingsley was present too, standing near the wall with 2 other Aurors. His face was serious. "Headmaster," Kingsley said carefully, "the minister is afraid. Parents are afraid. The Daily Prophet is already calling this the Hogwarts Plague." Pomfrey flinched at the word. Dumbledore's eyes narrowed slightly. "Fear spreads faster than any illness," he said. Umbridge nodded like she agreed, but her eyes said she was pleased. "So we act," she said. "We show strength. We show control." McGonagall's voice snapped. "Control is not the same as safety." Umbridge's smile hardened. "It is when children are involved." Pomfrey pushed her chair back with a scrape. I want healers from St. Mungo's, she said. Not reporters, not politicians. Healers! Umbridge waved a hand. Fine. We can call them. Snape let out a short, sharp breath. And while we wait, he said, we keep the monster locked. Dumbledore nodded. Agreed. Umbridge's eyes gleamed. And we begin inspections, she added. Classrooms, dormitories, staff offices, everywhere. We must find how it got in. Dumbledore's voice was flat. It did not get in through a window, he said. It arrived through a breach in reality. Your inspections will not stop that. Umbridge's smile twitched. Inspections, she repeated, also stop other problems. Snape's eyes narrowed. Such as? Umbridge stood. Such as disobedience, she said brightly. Such as secrets. Such as staff who do not follow ministry guidelines. McGonagall looked ready to explode. Dumbledore's face stayed calm. But Harry would have recognized that calm anywhere. It was the calm before Dumbledore acted. Do what you must, Dumbledore said to Umbridge. But understand this. Hogwarts will protect its own. Umbridge's smile returned, wide and false. Of course, she said. That is why I am here. In the hospital wing, 2 St. Mungo's healers arrived by flu that afternoon. They wore green robes and serious expressions. One carried a case full of tools. The other carried a long scroll. Pomfrey met them at the door like a soldier meeting reinforcements. We have victims, Pomfrey said. Her voice was tight. And we have whatever he made. The healer with the case looked toward the side room where the bound patients were held behind layered barriers. Those are not inferi, he said slowly. But they are close enough to make me uncomfortable. Good, Pomfrey snapped. You should be uncomfortable. They examined the bound bodies without touching skin. They used spells. They used charms. They used careful distance. After several minutes, the healer with the scroll shook her head. There is no soul signature, she said quietly. Pomfrey's throat tightened. So they're dead. They are empty, the healer corrected. The body is moving. Something is driving it. But it is not the person. Pomfrey shut her eyes for a moment. She saw the 5th-year girl sitting up with blank eyes. She heard the thud of her feet. What about the collapse? Pomfrey asked. The cold? The sudden failure? The healers exchanged a look. We are seeing traces, the first one said carefully. Not a curse pattern. Not poison. More like a removal. Like something was cut out. Pomfrey's stomach dropped. Cut out, she repeated. The second healer nodded. Life was present. Then it was not. Very fast. Pomfrey's hands shook. His touch, she whispered. The healers looked at her sharply. He touched them? Pomfrey's face hardened. Once, she said. And it was enough. The first healer swallowed. Then you keep him away from everyone, he said. Pomfrey's eyes flashed. Tell that to the ministry, she snapped. Hermione sat in the library that evening with a stack of books taller than her head. Harry and Ron sat across from her, looking tired. Ron's stomach growled, but even he did not mention food now, not with fear sitting in his chest. Hermione flipped pages like she was racing time. Anything? Harry asked. Hermione shook her head, frustrated. Plagues, curses, blood curses, cursed objects, necromancy, she muttered. There are sections on reanimation, but they all talk about spells, wand work, rituals. Not a touch. Ron rubbed his arms. I don't like the way he talks, he said quietly. Like he's polite, but like he'd kill you and say thank you. After. Harry stared at the table. He called it a cure, he said. He really believes it. Hermione's eyes lifted. That's what scares me, she said. He's not laughing. He's not trying to be dramatic. He thinks he's doing the right thing. Harry's scar tingled again. He rubbed it, jaw tight. Hermione noticed. "Is your scar hurting?" "No," Harry said. "Not like Voldemort. Just like something is nearby." Ron swallowed. "Maybe Voldemort is watching," he whispered. Hermione's face tightened. "Or maybe this doctor is something else," she said. "Something not from our world." Harry stared at the books. "Can that happen?" Hermione took a breath. "You've been through a magic diary, a time turner, and a veil that takes people away," she said. "Yes, it can happen." Ron groaned softly. "Brilliant," he muttered. Hermione flipped another page and froze. Harry leaned in. "What?" Hermione pointed. "This," she said. "It's a note about foreign entities. Things that don't match our magic patterns. It's in an old defense text." Ron squinted. "It doesn't say what to do, does it?" Hermione's mouth tightened. "It says," she read slowly, "do not assume understanding equals safety." Harry's stomach sank. "That's not helpful." "It's honest," Hermione said. A shadow fell over their table. They looked up. Professor Snape stood there, robes like ink, eyes sharp. Hermione's heart jumped. Ron looked like he had been caught stealing. Snape's gaze swept over the books. "Reading," he said, voice dripping with judgment. "How unusual." Harry bristled. "We're trying to help." Snape's eyes snapped to him. "You are trying to interfere," he said. "Which is your favorite hobby?" Hermione's voice trembled, but stayed brave. "Professor, we saw what happened. We're frightened. We want to understand what he is." Snape stared at Hermione for a long moment. Then he spoke in a quieter voice, low enough that other students could not easily hear. "Understanding does not stop a blade," he said, "and it does not stop a hand that kills with one touch." Ron swallowed. "So what do we do?" Snape's eyes flicked toward the windows. "We prepare," he said. "We do not get close. We do not get curious in the wrong place." Harry's jaw clenched. "He escaped once," Harry said. "How?" Snape's mouth tightened. "That is what I am solving," he said. "And if I find out someone helped him?" Hermione's eyes widened. "We didn't." Snape held up a hand, sharp. "I am not accusing you," he said. "I am warning you." He leaned slightly closer, and his voice dropped even more. "That thing," Snape said, "does not act like a common villain. It acts like a man with a job. That makes it more dangerous." Harry stared. "Because he won't stop." Snape's eyes narrowed. "Exactly," he said. He straightened and stepped back. "Go to your dormitories," he ordered. "Stay there. Do not wander." Ron looked like he wanted to argue, but he didn't. Harry didn't either. As Snape walked away, Hermione whispered, "Did he just give advice?" Ron shook his head slowly. "I don't like it," he whispered. When Snape is the calm one, it means we're in trouble. In the deepest part of the castle, behind 3 locked doors and 2 sets of wards, the doctor stood in a new containment space. It wasn't the dusty classroom anymore. This room was stone, cold, built for holding something that should not be free. Golden lines circled the floor like a ring. Silver runes glowed along the walls. Snape's magic sat like traps in the corners, quiet and ready. 2 Aurors stood outside. 2 Order members stood too, arms folded, wands ready. The doctor looked around, calm. He had been given a table and parchment. Dumbledore had decided that a trapped mind could still be watched, but it could also be learned from. The doctor wrote. He drew a chart of Hogwarts like it was a body. Castle. Subject. Symptoms. Fear. Secrecy. Soul harm. Vectors. Unknown. Environmental factors. Magic. Ancient wards. Moving architecture. He paused. He listened. He could feel the castle's old energy. It pressed against him like a thick air. It was different from any place he had worked in before. He did not fear it. He respected it, like a doctor respects a strong disease. Then the door opened, just a crack. The doctor did not look up right away. He kept writing. A voice spoke from outside, sweet and warm. "Doctor?" The doctor lifted his head. Umbridge stepped in, alone, smiling like she had brought cookies to a child. A single Auror stood behind her in the doorway. The doctor did not bow. He simply watched. Umbridge glanced at the runes and lines. "My," she said softly, "they've put you in a cage." "It is temporary," the doctor said. "Cages always are." Umbridge's smile tightened for a moment. Then it returned. "I would like to understand you," she said. "To help you." The doctor tilted his head. "Do you have authority?" he asked. Umbridge's eyes gleamed. "I have influence," she said, "and I have access." "Access to what?" the doctor asked. Umbridge stepped closer to the table, careful not to cross any lines on the floor. She looked at the chart he had drawn. Her brow rose. "Medical notes," she said, amused. "How professional." The doctor's voice stayed calm. "Consent is important," he said, and he slid a parchment toward her. On it, in neat writing, was a single line: "Consent for examination and treatment." Umbridge blinked. For half a second, she looked unsure. Then she laughed, high and light. "Oh, that is adorable," she said. "You want paperwork?" The doctor watched her. "I want permission," he said. "So my work is not obstructed." Umbridge leaned closer, voice low. "Then let me make you an offer," she said. "We can give you a proper facility, a real clinic, a team. We can give you subjects who deserve to suffer." The doctor's head tilted. "Subjects," he repeated. "Criminals," Umbridge corrected. "People who hurt others. People the world would not miss." The doctor's voice stayed even. "Pestilence does not choose only criminals," he said. "It hides in many." Umbridge's smile did not move, but her eyes sharpened. "Still," she said, "you would be doing the world a favor." The doctor considered this, not like a man being tempted by money, like a doctor being offered supplies. "Your world fears death," he said, "but it uses fear to control. That is, unhealthy." Umbridge's smile wobbled for a moment. "You will not speak to me like that," she said softly. The doctor placed his gloved hands on the table. "You asked," he said. Umbridge's eyes flashed. "I do not need your judgments," she hissed. Then she forced her smile back. "I need results." The doctor's head turned slightly, like he was listening to something deeper in the castle. "There is a deeper sickness here," he said, voice quieter. "Not in the body. In the soul." Umbridge's smile returned, slow. "Soul," she repeated. "How poetic." "It is not poetry," the doctor said. "It is diagnosis." Umbridge leaned back. "If you cooperate with me," she said, "I can reduce your restrictions." The doctor looked at her. "And in return?" Umbridge's eyes were bright. "You will work for the ministry," she said. "You will provide solutions." The doctor did not answer right away. Then he said, "I do not belong to your ministry." Umbridge's smile froze. The doctor's voice remained calm. "I belong to my work," he said. Umbridge's face hardened. "You are not in a position to refuse me," she said. The doctor's head tilted. "That depends," he replied. Before Umbridge could speak again, the door opened fully. Dumbledore stepped in, eyes calm but cold. "Dolores," he said, "leave." Umbridge's smile snapped back, as if she had been caught doing something small, like taking an extra biscuit. "Headmaster," she sang, I was simply checking on our guest." "Our guest," Dumbledore repeated. His tone made the words sound like a warning. "Is not to be negotiated with." Umbridge lifted her chin. "The Ministry will decide what happens," she said. Dumbledore's eyes stayed on her. "Not today," he said. Umbridge's cheeks flushed, anger pushing through the smile. Then she turned sharply and left, heels clicking like gunshots. Dumbledore waited until the door shut. Then he looked at the doctor. "You will not speak with her again without my presence," Dumbledore said. The doctor bowed once. "Slow." "As you wish," he replied. Dumbledore's voice softened slightly. "Doctor," he said, "you have frightened children. You have harmed them. If you have any sense of mercy, you will stop." The doctor's head tilted. "You misunderstand mercy," he said. Dumbledore's eyes narrowed. "Perhaps," he said, "or perhaps you misunderstand life." The doctor's voice was quiet. "Life includes suffering," he said. "I remove it." Dumbledore's gaze held steady. "And you remove choice," he replied. The doctor did not argue. He simply watched Dumbledore as if Dumbledore was a patient who refused medicine. Dumbledore turned to leave. At the doorway, he paused. "If you truly want to help," Dumbledore said, "then begin by telling me how you came here." The doctor's voice was calm. "I followed the pestilence," he said. "It called." Dumbledore's fingers tightened on his wand. Then he left without another word. The doctor picked up his charcoal again. He wrote one new line under his chart. Obstacle. Strong wizard. High capability. High ethics. Risk. Continued obstruction. Then he added another. Opportunity. Castle contains ancient life-death magic. Investigate. That same night, in a graveyard lit by thin moonlight, Voldemort sat among his followers like a spider among webs. Lucius Malfoy knelt, head low. A Death Eater beside him whispered quick updates. "A creature inside Hogwarts," the Death Eater said. "A doctor with a bird mask. It kills with touch. It makes bodies walk." Voldemort's red eyes gleamed. "A tool," he said softly. "A danger," another Death Eater said. Voldemort's lip curled. "Everything is a tool," he replied, "if you are skilled enough." Lucius swallowed. "Dumbledore has it contained," he said. "The Ministry is crawling all over the school." Voldemort's smile was thin and sharp. "Good," he said. "Let them argue. Let them panic." He leaned forward slightly. "This creature believes it cures," he murmured. "That means it has purpose. Purpose can be guided." He looked at his followers. "We will not destroy it," Voldemort said. "We will take it." A few Death Eaters shifted, uneasy. "How?" Lucius asked. Voldemort's eyes gleamed with cold patience. "We do not fight the fortress head-on," he said. "We use the cracks." He lifted a pale finger. "The Ministry is inside Hogwarts now," he said. "That is a crack." He lifted another. "Fear is inside Hogwarts," he said. "That is a crack." He lifted a third. "And curiosity," he said. "That is the widest crack of all." He sat back, voice smooth. "Prepare a team," he ordered. "Not brutes, not fools. I want precision." Lucius bowed lower. "Yes, my lord." Voldemort's smile stayed. "Bring me the doctor," he said. "Alive, if possible." He paused, then added, almost thoughtful, "And bring me anything it carries. Notes, tools, anything." Because Voldemort did not only want a weapon, he wanted knowledge. 2 nights later, Hogwarts learned what Voldemort meant by precision. It started quiet. Too quiet. Harry lay awake in his dormitory, staring at the canopy above his bed. Ron slept, but not well. He muttered in his sleep, hands twitching. Hermione's bed curtains were shut. Harry knew she was not sleeping either. A soft thump sounded in the corridor outside the dormitory. Then another. Harry sat up. He listened. Footsteps. Not normal student footsteps. These were careful, measured, like someone trying not to make sound. Harry slipped out of bed and pulled on his robe. He grabbed his wand and moved to the dormitory door. He cracked it open. The corridor was dim. A torch flickered. Far down the hall, he saw two shapes move past a window. Not students. They moved like fighters. Harry's heart hammered. He eased the door shut again and whispered, "Ron! Hermione!" Ron jolted awake, eyes wide. "What?" Hermione's curtain snapped open. She was already holding her wand. Harry whispered fast. "Someone's in the hall." Ron swallowed. "Aurors." Hermione's eyes narrowed. "Aurors don't sneak like that," she whispered. Harry felt cold spread in his chest. "Death Eaters," he whispered. Ron went pale. "Here." Hermione stood, face tight. "They want the doctor," she whispered. Harry's mind raced. If Death Eaters were inside, then the wards were not enough, or someone had opened a door for them. They moved into the corridor quietly. They did not run toward the Great Hall. They did not head to the classrooms. They headed down, toward the deeper parts of the castle, toward the containment room. Harry's blood ran cold. He could not let Death Eaters take the doctor. Not because the doctor deserved protection, but because if Voldemort got him, everything would get worse. Hermione grabbed Harry's sleeve. "We should alert someone," she whispered. Ron nodded fast. "Snape!" he hissed. "Or Dumbledore! Anyone!" Harry nodded. "Go," he whispered. "Ron, you go to McGonagall. Hermione, get to a teacher. No!" Hermione whispered sharply. "You are not going alone." Harry clenched his jaw. He hated it, but he knew she was right. They moved together, fast and quiet, down the stairs. They did not make it far before a shadow dropped from above. A hand clamped over Harry's mouth. Harry swung his wand up, but another hand grabbed his wrist. He struggled hard. Then a voice hissed in his ear. "Potter." Harry froze. Snape stepped out of the shadow, face tight with anger. He removed his hand slowly, but his wand stayed pointed at Harry's chest. "You," Snape whispered, "are going back to bed." Harry shook his head. "Death Eaters," Harry whispered. "They're inside." Snape's eyes flashed. "I know," he said. Hermione's voice trembled. "Professor," Snape cut her off. "You will not follow them," he hissed. "You will not interfere." Ron swallowed. "Then stop them," he whispered. Snape's eyes went colder. "That," he said, "is what adults do." He moved past them like a blade moving through air. "Go," he ordered, not looking back. Harry's fists clenched. He hated staying behind. But Snape was right. If they followed, they would die. They hurried back toward a safe corridor, and as they ran, the castle shook with a muffled boom deep below. A fight had started. In the containment hall, Snape arrived like a storm. 2 Aurors lay on the floor, stunned. Their wands were gone. A third guard staggered against the wall, bleeding from a cut on his forehead. The door to the containment room was half open. Inside, golden runes flickered. A Death Eater stood at the edge of the circle, wand out, testing the lines like someone tapping a cage. The doctor stood inside the circle, calm, watching. A second Death Eater was dragging a sack that moved. The sack hit the floor and rolled. A human groaned from inside. Snape's stomach dropped. A hostage. The Death Eater nearest the circle spoke. "Doctor," he said, voice mocking, "we brought you a patient." The doctor's head tilted. The Death Eater yanked the sack open. A Hogwarts student tumbled out, gasping, eyes wild. A 6th-year boy Harry had seen in the halls. His face was bruised. His hands were tied. "Please!" the boy choked. Snape's rage hit like heat. "Expelliarmus!" Snape fired. The Death Eater's wand flew. It clattered across the floor. The Death Eater spun, fast, pulling a dagger from his robe. Snape did not care. He fired again, blasting the dagger away, then slamming the Death Eater into the wall with a hard spell that cracked stone. The second Death Eater moved, wand up, aiming at the hostage. Snape's wand flicked. A shield snapped into place. A curse hit it and splashed off like dirty water. Snape stepped forward. "You will not touch him," he hissed. The Death Eater laughed. "We already did," he said. "But we're not here for the boy." His wand pointed at the doctor. "We're here for you," he said to the doctor. "Our master wants you." The doctor's voice stayed calm. "Your master is infected," he said. The Death Eater's laugh died. "Watch your mouth," he snarled. The doctor tilted his head. "He has deep corruption," he said, like he was reading a chart. "It will worsen." Snape's eyes flicked to the doctor. Even now, the thing was diagnosing. The Death Eater stepped closer to the circle. "We can remove you," he said. "We have tools. We have spells. We have a place for you, a proper lab." The doctor watched him. "Do you have consent?" he asked. The Death Eater stared. "What?" "Consent," the doctor repeated. Calm. "It matters," the Death Eater snarled. "We do not ask," he said. The doctor's voice stayed even. "Then you are not healers," he said. "You are butchers." The Death Eater raised his wand and fired a curse at the circle lines. The lines flared bright. They held. The Death Eater fired again. The lines held again, but they dimmed, like they were getting tired. Snape's breath tightened. If those lines broke, the doctor would be free in the middle of a Death Eater attack. That was a nightmare, inside a nightmare. Snape fired at the Death Eater again. The Death Eater dodged and fired back. Spells cracked the air. Stone shattered. Dust filled the corridor. The hostage boy crawled away, crying. Then the door behind Snape blew inward. McGonagall burst in, wand blazing. 2 Order members followed. Their faces were grim. McGonagall took in the scene in 1 second and acted. "Petrificus totalis!" The Death Eater nearest the circle froze stiff and fell. The second Death Eater turned to flee. Tonks, arriving behind McGonagall, shouted, "Stupefy!" The Death Eater fell hard. For a moment, the corridor went quiet except for the hostage boys sobbing. Snape's chest heaved. McGonagall's face was tight with fury. "Where are the Aurors?" she snapped. Tonks pointed at the stunned bodies. "They tried," she said. "They weren't ready." McGonagall's eyes flicked to the doctor. "And you," she said, voice shaking. "You are watching this like it's a lesson." The doctor's head tilted. "It is a lesson," he said. "Your world is sick. It fights itself while the pestilence spreads." Snape's eyes narrowed. "Do not speak," he snapped. "You are not in control." The doctor's voice stayed calm. "Control is an illusion," he replied. McGonagall's wand lifted. "Enough," she said. "We move him. Now." Snape's eyes flicked to the circle lines. They were dimmer than before. The Death Eater's repeated attacks had weakened them. Snape swallowed hard. "We cannot move him until the wards are stable," he said. "If we lift the spell work wrong—" A soft sound came from inside the circle. The doctor had knelt down. He had pressed a gloved finger to the stone floor, right beside the glowing line. Snape's blood turned to ice. "Stop!" Snape barked. The doctor did not stop. He traced the line with his finger, slow, careful, like he was feeling a pulse. Then he spoke quietly. "These wards are old," he said. "They are built on death." McGonagall stiffened. "What are you talking about?" The doctor lifted his head. "This castle's protection is tied to life and death," he said. "I can feel it." Snape's eyes narrowed. "You can feel magic," he said, disgusted. "Yet you are not a wizard." The doctor stood again, calm. "You do not need to be a wizard to see sickness," he said. McGonagall's voice was sharp. "You will not touch anything again," she snapped. The doctor looked at her. "I must diagnose," he said. Tonks stepped forward, eyes wide. "You don't get to decide what you must do," she said. The doctor's head tilted. "Do you?" he asked. Tonks froze, lips parting. She had no answer that felt clean. Snape's eyes stayed cold. "Enough philosophy," he said. "We seal this. We double the guard. We tell Dumbledore." McGonagall nodded. "Now," she said. They pulled the hostage boy to his feet. They carried the stunned Aurors away. They dragged the Death Eaters back to be bound and questioned. But the doctor did not look at any of that. He stared at the stone floor, at the lines, at the runes, like a man staring at a map to treasure, or a surgeon staring at a hidden wound. And in his calm silence, a new goal formed. Not just the students, not just the patients, the castle itself. By morning, Hogwarts was louder than ever. Owls poured in through windows like a storm of paper and feathers. Parents demanded answers. Some demanded their children be sent home. Some demanded Dumbledore be arrested. Some demanded the Ministry take full control. The Daily Prophet arrived with photographers. Umbridge greeted them like friends. Harry watched her from behind a column in the entrance hall as she spoke to a reporter with a smile that looked practiced. "Hogwarts remains safe," Umbridge said loudly. "The Ministry is acting swiftly. We will not allow dangerous elements to harm our children." Harry's hands clenched. Hermione stood beside him, face pale. "She's using it," Hermione whispered. "She's using fear to grab power." Ron's eyes were dark. "She always does," he muttered. Harry's scar prickled again, faint, like a warning far away. Hermione's voice was low. "Harry," she said, "that doctor said something last night about the castle being tied to life and death." Harry frowned. "What does that mean?" Hermione's eyes flashed with fear and thought. "It means he's not just here by accident," she said. "He's hunting something, or he thinks something here is, like his pestilence." Ron swallowed. "What if he thinks we're all infected?" Harry stared at the moving staircases, the portraits, the suits of armor. "What if he thinks Hogwarts is infected?" Harry whispered. Hermione nodded slowly. "Then we're not just dealing with a prisoner," she said. "We're dealing with someone who will keep pushing until he finds what he wants." Ron's voice was small. "And he doesn't care what he breaks." Hermione's hands tightened around her books. "We need to know what he is," she said. "Not just a doctor, a name, a place." Harry's eyes narrowed. "Library," he said. Ron groaned, but he went. The restricted section smelled like dust and danger. Hermione had convinced a tired-looking librarian to let her in for research on protective measures. She did not mention the masked doctor. She did not mention Death Eaters. Harry held the lantern. Ron stood close, eyes darting like the books might jump out. Hermione moved fast, scanning titles. "Necromancy," she muttered. "Soul magic. Cursed illnesses." Harry watched her. He admired her, but he was also scared. Hermione's mind could run into deep places. Deep places had teeth. Ron whispered, "I hate this section." Hermione did not look up. "Then stay behind me," she said. They found a book on foreign forces again, older and rougher. Hermione flipped pages quickly. Then she froze. Harry leaned in. "What?" Hermione pointed at a paragraph. "It says there are beings who enter our world with no wand signature," she whispered. "It says they may come from beyond the known." Ron squinted. "Does it say what to do?" Hermione swallowed. "It says," she read, "containment, observation, and refusal to bargain." Harry's stomach tightened. "That's Dumbledore," he said quietly. Hermione nodded. "And Snape?" she added, almost unwillingly. Ron frowned. "But what about the name?" he asked. "Where does he come from?" Hermione flipped pages again, faster. "There's a note," she whispered, "a margin note. It says, 'Some are catalogued by watchers in other worlds.'" Harry's heart beat harder. "Catalogued?" Hermione nodded. "Like, recorded," she whispered. "Like someone out there has a system." Ron's eyes widened. "Like a prison system," he whispered. Hermione's face was pale. "Or a research system," she said. Harry stared at the words, mind racing. This was getting bigger. Then a cold breeze slid across the room. The lantern flame flickered. Harry froze. Hermione's head lifted slowly. Ron whispered, "Please tell me that's just the library." Footsteps sounded in the aisle beyond the shelves. Slow, careful, like someone walking through a clinic at night. Harry's grip tightened on his wand. Hermione whispered, "Hide." They ducked behind a shelf, hearts pounding. The footsteps came closer. Then a shadow slid across the floor, a long coat hem, a beaked mask. The doctor. He stepped into view like he belonged there. He carried a clipboard now. Not the Weasley one. A real one he had taken from somewhere. He held parchment clipped to it. He had a quill tucked into his coat like it was a scalpel. Harry's stomach dropped. "How did he get here?" Harry whispered. Hermione's eyes were wide with fear and focus. "He escaped," she whispered. "Again." Ron's voice shook. "Is he alone?" Harry peeked again. The doctor was alone, but the air around him felt crowded, like something terrible could happen at any second. The doctor walked to a shelf labeled with warnings. He reached up and pulled down a thick book bound in dark leather. He opened it like he was opening a patient file. He read, his head tilted slightly, the glass eyes reflecting the lantern light. He turned pages with calm care. Hermione whispered, "He's looking for something." Harry's jaw clenched. "He's looking for what he called soul damage," he whispered. Ron swallowed. "That's Voldemort stuff," he whispered. Harry's scar prickled. The doctor paused and tapped the page with a gloved finger. Then he spoke, quiet but clear, as if he was alone. "Fragmentation," he murmured. "Separation of essence. Intentional." He tilted his head. "This is pestilence," he said softly. "Advanced." Hermione's breath caught. Harry felt cold spread in his chest. The doctor closed the book and placed it under his arm. Then he turned, as if he had decided where to go next. He walked out of the restricted section without rushing. Harry waited until the footsteps faded. Then he whispered, "We follow." Hermione grabbed his sleeve. "Carefully," she whispered. "We cannot let him touch us. Not even by accident." Ron whispered, "I'm not getting within 10 feet of him." Harry nodded. "Fine," he whispered. "Stay alive. That's the plan." They slipped out into the corridor, keeping distance, following the doctor's shadow as it moved through the castle. The doctor did not head to classrooms. He did not head to the Great Hall. He headed down, toward the oldest parts of Hogwarts, toward stone that felt older than rules. The doctor moved through the castle like he had learned its pulse. He did not know every hallway, but he did not need to. He listened. He watched. He tested doors. He noted patterns. The castle moved, but it still had habits. He paused at a suit of armor. He placed a gloved hand close to it, not touching, like a doctor feeling heat from a fever. The armor shifted slightly, as if uncomfortable. He nodded once, as if confirming a symptom. He moved on. Behind him, the trio followed from far back, hiding behind corners and statues. Hermione kept whispering directions. Ron kept whispering complaints. Harry kept staring at the doctor's hands. One wrong touch, one slip, and it would be over. They reached a corridor with no students. The torches were dimmer here. The doctor stopped at a wall. It looked like a normal stone wall. Hermione frowned. "What is he doing?" she whispered. The doctor lifted his hand and traced the stone. Slow. His finger moved across cracks and seams like he was reading a map. Then he pressed a spot. The wall shifted. A hidden doorway opened with a soft grind. Ron's mouth fell open. "How did he?" Hermione whispered. "He's not guessing. He's diagnosing the castle." Harry's chest tightened. The doctor stepped into the passage. Harry whispered, "We go." Hermione grabbed his sleeve. "If we go in there, we might not get out," she whispered. Harry swallowed. "If we don't," he whispered, "he might reach something worse." Hermione nodded, trembling. They slipped into the passage. The air inside was cold and damp. The stone steps went down and down. Harry held the lantern low. Shadows jumped. The doctor's footsteps were ahead, steady, calm. Then the passage opened into a larger space, a hidden chamber, old stone, marks on the walls that did not look like normal spellwork. Ron whispered, "This feels wrong." Hermione's eyes were wide. "This is ancient," she whispered, "older than the school as we know it." The doctor stood in the center of the chamber, looking up at a symbol carved into the ceiling. It looked like a circle inside a circle, with lines branching out like a web. The doctor lifted his clipboard and wrote. He spoke softly. "A node," he murmured. "A focus point." Harry's stomach tightened. "A focus point for what?" he whispered. Hermione's voice shook. "For magic," she whispered. "Strong magic." The doctor stepped closer to the wall and ran his gloved finger along the carving, careful not to break it. He whispered, "Life and death," and his voice sounded almost satisfied. Then he heard something. So did Harry. A soft hiss, not the sound of a snake, the sound of a spell sliding through the air. Harry spun. A green curse slammed into the stone, where Harry's head had been a second before. Harry's heart nearly stopped. Death Eaters. They poured into the chamber from a second passageway, wands up, masks on, movements fast and trained. Hermione grabbed Harry's arm and pulled him behind a pillar. Ron stumbled behind them, breathing hard. The doctor did not flinch. He turned slowly, calm as ever, facing the Death Eaters. One Death Eater stepped forward. His voice was low and controlled. "Doctor," he said, "our master offers you a place." The doctor tilted his head. "Does he have consent?" he asked. The Death Eater's wand twitched. "He does not ask," he hissed. The doctor's voice stayed calm. "Then he is infected," he said. The Death Eater's patience snapped. "Enough," he snarled. "You are coming with us." Two Death Eaters moved to flank the doctor. The doctor did not raise a wand. He did not need one. He lifted one gloved hand. From the shadows behind the Death Eaters, bodies stepped forward. Patience. 3 of them. Their movements were stiff, but strong. They had been hiding in the tunnel like guards. Harry's blood ran cold. The doctor had planned this. The patients lunged at the Death Eaters from behind. The Death Eaters cursed, turning fast. Firing spells. A patient took a curse to the chest and fell, then tried to rise again. Another patient grabbed a Death Eater's arm and held on even as the Death Eater blasted it. The arm shattered. The patient did not stop. Hermione covered her mouth to keep from screaming. Ron whispered, "This is horrible." Harry's hands clenched around his wand. He wanted to help. He didn't know who to help, because Death Eaters were trying to take the doctor. But the doctor was also a monster. The doctor stepped backward, away from the Death Eaters, toward the center symbol in the chamber. Harry saw it and felt panic. He's going to touch it, Harry whispered. Hermione's eyes widened. We can't let him, she whispered. Harry stepped out from behind the pillar. Stupefy, he shouted. His spell hit a Death Eater's shoulder and knocked him sideways. The Death Eater spun, furious. Potter, he roared. More spells flew. Hermione fired too. Stupefy! Ron, shaking, fired as well. Expelliarmus! A Death Eater's wand flew across the floor. The chamber became chaos. Spells hit stone. Sparks and dust filled the air. The doctor stayed calm. He moved like he was walking through falling rain. He reached the center symbol. He knelt. He placed his gloved hand just above the carved circle. Not touching yet. Feeling. Reading. His voice was quiet. Yes, he murmured. This is it. A Death Eater saw what he was doing and screamed, "Stop him!" 2 Death Eaters broke away and rushed the doctor. Harry reacted first. He sprinted across the chamber, heart hammering. He fired again. Stupefy! A Death Eater staggered but kept coming. Hermione screamed, "Harry, don't!" Harry slid on the stone, coming between the Death Eaters and the doctor. He raised his wand. "You're not touching him!" Harry shouted. One Death Eater laughed. "You think we want to hurt him?" he snarled. "We want to use him." Harry's stomach twisted. "Then you're not taking him," Harry snapped. The Death Eater fired a curse. Harry threw up a shield. The impact shoved him back. Harry's heel hit something hard. He stumbled. For a split second, he lost balance. And in that split second, the doctor moved. The doctor's gloved hand pressed down onto the carved circle. The chamber shuddered. Not like an explosion, like a deep breath from the castle. The symbol glowed faintly, then faded. Harry felt cold rush through the air. Hermione gasped. Ron made a strangled sound. The doctor stood slowly. He looked almost pleased. The Death Eaters froze for a fraction, confused. Then the chamber's far wall cracked. A thin line spread across it like a tear. Blackness seeped through. Not a portal. Not a doorway. A wound in the stone. Harry's heart slammed. "What did you do?" he shouted. The doctor's head tilted. "I confirmed the diagnosis," he said calmly. One Death Eater stepped back, voice shaking. "My lord will not like this," he whispered. The doctor turned his mask toward him. "Your lord will be grateful," he said. "This is the source of much corruption." The Death Eater snarled and raised his wand to kill him. A spell flew and stopped. Because another presence filled the chamber. Harry felt it like ice in his veins. The black crack in the wall pulsed. A voice spoke, not from a throat, but from the air itself. Cold, smooth, angry. "Doctor." Harry's scar flared, sharp and hot. Voldemort's presence, not fully here, but close enough. The Death Eaters dropped to their knees at once. "My lord," they whispered. Hermione clutched Harry's sleeve, shaking. Ron looked like he might faint. The doctor did not kneel. He stood, calm, and faced the darkness like it was a patient. Voldemort's voice curled through the chamber. "You have made a mess in my school," he said softly. The doctor tilted his head. "Your school is infected," he replied. A soft, dangerous laugh echoed. "Bold," Voldemort murmured. "But you are useful." The doctor's voice stayed even. "Use is not healing," he said. Voldemort's presence pressed harder. The air felt heavy. The torches dimmed. "I offer you a place," Voldemort said. "A facility. Bodies. Freedom. You will never lack work again." Harry's stomach turned. Voldemort was offering him exactly what he wanted. The doctor was silent for a moment. Then he said, calm as ever, "Do you have consent?" For the first time, Voldemort's voice sharpened. "You are not in a position to demand," he hissed. The doctor's head tilted. "Then you are not in a position to receive healing," he replied. A long pause. Then Voldemort spoke again, lower. "You refuse me," he said. "I refuse ownership," the doctor answered. "Not opportunity." Harry's eyes widened. That was not a yes, not a no. It was something worse, something flexible. Voldemort's laugh was soft and cold. "Clever," he murmured. "Very well." The presence shifted, like a snake changing direction. "Bring him," Voldemort ordered his Death Eaters. "Now." The Death Eaters rose, wands up. Harry stepped forward, shaking but angry. "You're not taking anyone," he snapped. A Death Eater flicked his wand. Harry's shield cracked and threw him back. Hermione screamed. Ron dragged Harry behind a pillar. The chamber became chaos again. Death Eaters fired spells at the doctors. Patience. The patients kept coming, even as bodies broke. The doctor moved away from the Death Eaters, not toward them. He moved toward the black crack in the wall. Hermione's eyes widened. "Harry!" she gasped. "He's going into it!" Harry's heart hammered. He pushed to his feet, dizzy. He saw the doctor step to the crack and look into the darkness like he was looking into a doorway at the end of a hallway. Then the doctor did something that made Harry's blood turn cold. He wrote one line on his clipboard, quick and neat. He tore the page free. He placed it on the stone floor. It was a simple note. Diagnosis: soul corruption present. Source linked to deliberate fragmentation. Treatment requires access to deeper records. Then he stepped into the crack. The darkness swallowed him. The crack shivered. Then it narrowed, like a wound trying to close. Harry rushed forward, but Ron grabbed him, pulling him back. "Don't!" Ron shouted. "Don't go in there!" Harry's chest heaved. He stared at the crack. The doctor was gone. The Death Eaters stared too, shocked. One of them snarled, furious. "He escaped!" Voldemort's presence pulsed in anger. The chamber shook, but the crack sealed completely, leaving only a faint mark on the stone. Silence hit like a slap. Then the Death Eaters moved. They did not stay to fight. They grabbed what they could. Books, wands, anything dropped, and fled into the tunnels. Harry tried to chase, but Hermione grabbed his arm. "We need to get out," she whispered. "Now!" Ron nodded hard. "Before the castle collapses on us." They ran back through the passageways, hearts pounding, dust sticking to their faces. Behind them, the hidden chamber stayed silent. But Harry could still feel it, like a new sickness had been discovered. And no one knew how far it had spread. They reached a main corridor and nearly slammed into McGonagall and Tonks. McGonagall's eyes widened. "Potter," she snapped. "Granger, Weasley, what are you doing down here?" Harry's mouth opened. He had no good answer. Hermione spoke fast, voice shaking. "Professor, Death Eaters were in the castle. They went for the doctor. He escaped again. He found something. A hidden chamber. Something tied to life and death. Voldemort." Voldemort spoke. Not fully, but McGonagall's face went pale. Tonks swore softly. McGonagall grabbed Hermione's shoulder. "Are you hurt?" Hermione shook her head. Ron shook too. Harry shook too, but his scar burned. McGonagall's voice trembled with fury. "You should have stayed in your dormitory," she hissed. Harry swallowed. "We tried to warn someone," he said. McGonagall's eyes flashed. "Next time, you do not try," she said. "You obey." Harry's chest burned, but he nodded. He knew she was right. He also knew they had seen something important. Tonks leaned in, voice low. "He escaped into where?" she asked. Hermione swallowed. "Into a crack," she whispered. "Like the stone opened. Like the castle had a wound." Tonks's face tightened. "That's bad," she muttered. McGonagall straightened. Voice sharp. "We go to the headmaster," she ordered. "Now." As they ran, Harry looked back once. The corridor behind them was normal again, just stone and torches. But Harry knew better now. Hogwarts had deep places, dark places, and something from another world had slipped into them. Not screaming, not raging, working, searching, diagnosing. And that meant the next strike would not be random. It would be deliberate. 3 weeks later, Hogwarts still felt like it was holding its breath. Classes still happened. Homework still piled up. The portraits still argued. The staircases still moved. But now the castle also had checkpoints. Aurors stood near key corridors. Order members took night shifts. Some doors had new seals that glowed faintly. Umbridge acted like this was her best season. She posted new rules every day. Curfews, hall passes, safety inspections. She made students line up to be counted. She made teachers write reports about their own lessons, like teaching had become a crime. Harry hated it. The castle felt smaller. He sat at the Gryffindor table one morning and stared at a bright pink notice Umbridge had tacked onto a pillar. All students must present a signed health clearance form before visiting the hospital wing. Ron read it twice, then whispered, "She's making sick kids fill out paperwork." Hermione's jaw went tight. "She wants control," she said. "Fear makes people obey faster." Fred and George slid into the seats across from them, grinning like they had not slept. "We've got good news," Fred said. Ron narrowed his eyes. "If it's a joke, don't." George held up a stack of papers. They looked official at first glance. They had seals. They had signatures. They had boxes to tick. Fred said, proud, "Health clearance forms." Hermione's eyes widened. "You forged," George corrected her, cheerful. "We improved the system." Ron stared. "You are going to get expelled." Fred shrugged. "Maybe," he said, "but people need to get to Pomfrey without Umbridge acting like a toll booth." Harry almost smiled. Almost. Then his scar prickled. Not a sharp stab, a steady warning. Harry went still. He pressed 2 fingers to his forehead, trying to ignore it. Hermione noticed at once. "Harry." "It's nothing," Harry lied. Ron leaned in, voice low. "Is it Voldemort?" Harry shook his head. "No," he whispered. "It's different." Hermione's face paled. "The doctor," she whispered. Harry looked toward the staff table. Dumbledore sat straight, calm, but his eyes were tired. McGonagall looked like she had been fighting daily. Snape looked like he lived on anger and no sleep. Umbridge laughed at something a reporter said and dabbed her mouth like she was at a party. Harry's stomach turned. Somewhere in this castle, the plague doctor was still breathing, still listening, still hunting, and nobody had found him. Not truly. Dumbledore stood in his office that night with the curtains shut. Fawkes watched from his perch, bright and silent. On the desk lay 3 things: a torn page the doctor had left in the hidden chamber, a thin book Hermione had found, filled with old notes about foreign entities, and a small piece of parchment Hermione had nearly dropped from shaking hands when she brought it to him. It was not written in normal wizard ink. It was typed. The letters were clean and stiff, like a muggle machine had stamped them. At the top, it read, SCP-049. Below that were 3 words, bold and simple: secure, contain, protect. Dumbledore looked at the page again. He had lived long enough to know when a new kind of danger entered the world. This did not feel like a curse. It did not feel like a creature from the Forbidden Forest. It felt like a system, a category, a world that built boxes for nightmares. He tapped the page with his wand. No spell reacted. No glamour faded. No trick revealed itself. It was real. McGonagall stood across from him, arms crossed tight. "So he has a number," she said. "Like an object. Or like a prisoner." Snape said from the shadows. His voice was flat. Hermione stood near the door, hands clenched around her own sleeves. She looked small in the big office, but her eyes were fierce. Harry and Ron stood beside her. Hermione spoke, careful. "Professor, the book I found talked about Watchers," she said. "People in other worlds who record beings that don't fit." Ron whispered, "That sounds like a nightmare library?" Hermione nodded faintly. "This paper uses the word contain, like it's a rule." Harry stared at the typed words. "So someone tried to keep him locked up," he said. Snape's lip curled. "And failed," he said. Dumbledore's gaze moved to the torn page from the hidden chamber. The doctor's handwriting was neat, calm, almost gentle. Diagnosis: soul corruption present. Source linked to deliberate fragmentation. Treatment requires access to deeper records. McGonagall's voice shook with anger. "He speaks of souls like they are organs," she said. "Because he treats people like objects," Snape replied. Hermione swallowed. "He used the word fragmentation," she said. "That sounds like—" Harry's scar tingled again. Dumbledore's eyes lifted to Harry. They softened for a second. Then they hardened again. Not at Harry, but at the truth. "Yes," Dumbledore said quietly. "It sounds like what Voldemort has done to himself." Harry went cold. Ron's mouth fell open. Hermione's face went pale. "You mean," Ron whispered. Dumbledore did not say the word Horcrux aloud. Not yet. Not with Umbridge's ears everywhere. Not with the castle full of cracks. But the meaning landed anyway. Hermione's voice trembled. "So the doctor is hunting Voldemort," she whispered. Snape's eyes narrowed. "Not hunting," he corrected. "Treating." Harry's stomach twisted. "If he thinks Voldemort is a sickness," Harry said, "then what does he think of me?" Silence hit the room. Dumbledore did not answer quickly, and that was answer enough. McGonagall's voice broke the stillness. "We must remove him," she said. "From Hogwarts. From our children." Snape's eyes flashed. "Containment," he said. "Permanent." Hermione swallowed hard. "He escaped through a crack," she said. "He made the castle open." Dumbledore nodded once. "Yes," he said. "Which means we cannot rely on a simple cell." Snape stepped forward. "Then we build a trap," he said. His voice sharpened, like a blade being drawn. "Not a room. A path. A maze. A place that moves and blocks touch." McGonagall looked at him. "You're thinking of the staircases," she said. Snape nodded. "And the mirrored corridor near the old astronomy wing," he said. "The one that bends sound and light." Hermione frowned. "There's a mirrored corridor?" Ron whispered. "Of course there is." Dumbledore's eyes narrowed slightly. "A trap could work," he said, "but only if we know what he wants." Harry's voice was quiet. "He wants the deep records," he said. "He wants the source. He wants the fragment." Hermione's breath caught. "Harry," she whispered. Harry stared at the paper again. His hands shook a little. He hated that he felt like a target. He hated that he might be bait. But he also knew something else. If the doctor reached Voldemort, something terrible could happen. Not because Voldemort would die. Voldemort didn't die easily. But because Voldemort would learn. Voldemort would steal. Voldemort would twist the doctor's work into a weapon. Harry looked up at Dumbledore. "Use me," he said, voice tight. "If you have to." Hermione grabbed his arm. "No." Ron's face tightened. "Harry." "Don't." Dumbledore raised a hand. "I will not place you in the path of a killer," he said, voice firm. Harry's chest burned. "I'm already in the path," he snapped. Then he swallowed, quieter. "I'm sorry." Dumbledore's gaze stayed kind, but unmovable. "We will protect you," he said, "and we will stop him." Snape's eyes were cold. "We do it soon," he said. "The longer he hides, the more bodies he gathers, the more patients he makes." McGonagall's fists clenched. "And Umbridge?" she asked. Snape's mouth twisted. "A problem," he said. Dumbledore's voice went calm again. "I will handle Dolores," he said. Nobody looked reassured by that, because handle could mean many things, and Umbridge had a way of slipping through fingers like poison. The doctor's new routine was quiet. That was what made it terrifying. He had found a forgotten space in the castle, not the room of requirement, not something that listened to wishes. This was older and smaller, a storage chamber behind a wall that portraits had stopped talking about. He made it into a clinic, not a cozy one, not a friendly one, a clean one. He arranged tools in straight lines. He took spare parchment and made stacks like patient files. He wrote charts about Hogwarts corridors. He wrote symptom lists about the people who lived here. He did not sleep much. He did not eat much. His work fed him. He had 3 patients now, hidden in a side passage. 2 were students. 1 was an Auror. He did not view them as victims. He viewed them as proof. He had also learned something from the hidden chamber. There was soul corruption in this world. Deep, intentional, spread through fragments. He had felt it most strongly once, when he stood near the boy with the lightning scar. The boy's soul pattern was split. Not broken like a simple injury. Something was embedded inside him. To the doctor, it looked like advanced pestilence, a disease inside the self. He wrote it down in a neat box. Subject, male adolescent. Scar, linked to corruption signature. Condition, fragment embedded. Risk, spread. Treatment, removal. Then he paused. Treatment required consent. He stared at the word like it was a tool. He had asked for consent before. Many refused. Many did not understand. Many panicked. But this world was obsessed with rules. It loved signatures and seals. So he would use what the world loved. He took a blank parchment and wrote, "Consent form for examination and treatment. Patient name. Diagnosis. Consent. Granted. Yes, no signature." He looked at the form and felt something close to satisfaction. Then he heard a familiar presence in the darkness beyond the walls. Not the castle. Not the teachers. Something colder. Something proud. Voldemort. The doctor did not fear it. He respected it as a severe condition. A voice slid into the chamber like a whisper in a hospital corridor. "You are difficult to catch, Doctor." The doctor did not turn quickly. He turned slowly, calm. "Containment is temporary," he said. A faint laugh answered him. "So you keep saying?" A dark shimmer formed near the stone. Not a full body, but a thin projection. A suggestion of a face. Red eyes like coals. Voldemort's voice was smooth. "You want your records," he said. "You want the truth about the soul." The doctor tilted his head. "Yes," he said. "I can give you access," Voldemort said. "I can show you what you sensed. I can show you fragmentation." The doctor's voice stayed calm. "You caused it," he said. Voldemort's laugh was soft. "I mastered it," he corrected. The doctor stepped closer, just enough to show interest. "Then you are a prime carrier," he said. "A severe case." Voldemort's tone sharpened for a breath. Then it smoothed again. "Call it what you like," he said. "Work with me." The doctor's mask did not change. "I do not belong to you," he said. "You belong to your obsession," Voldemort hissed. The doctor's voice stayed even. "I belong to my duty," he replied. Voldemort paused. "I will offer you what the old man will not," he said. "Freedom. Bodies. No rules." The doctor considered this. Bodies meant study. Bodies meant progress. Bodies meant fewer delays. But no rules also meant chaos. and chaos made diagnosis harder. He did not answer yes. He did not answer no. He asked a question. "The fragment in the boy," the doctor said. "Is it yours?" Voldemort's projection went still. The air tightened. Then Voldemort's voice lowered, dangerous and pleased at once. "You noticed?" The doctor's head tilted. "It is clear," he said. "A foreign piece, embedded, corrupting." Voldemort's laugh returned, thin. "You want to cure him?" Voldemort guessed. "I want to remove the fragment," the doctor said calmly. "It is sickness." Voldemort's voice grew soft. "Then we share a goal," he murmured. "You remove it. The boy dies. The world loses its little symbol, and I gain satisfaction." The doctor paused. He did not care about symbols. He cared about outcomes. But he did care about procedure. "I require consent," he said. Voldemort laughed out loud now. "Consent," he mocked. "You are in a war." The doctor's voice did not change. "War is a symptom," he said, "not an excuse." Voldemort's projection leaned closer. "The old man will never give you what you need," he said. "He will chain you. He will trap you. He will keep you starving for answers." The doctor's head tilted. "And you will feed me," he said. Voldemort's voice purred. "Yes." The doctor was silent for a moment. Then he said, "I refuse ownership." Voldemort's laugh stopped. "Then you refuse me." The doctor corrected him. "I refuse your leash," he said. "I accept information." The air went colder. Voldemort's voice sharpened. "You bargain like you have power." The doctor's voice stayed calm. "I do," he said. "You want what I can do." A long pause. Then Voldemort spoke, soft and dangerous. "Fine," he said. "Information, then." A dark image appeared in the air, not clear like a painting, more like a memory forced into shape, a hidden object, a piece of soul placed inside a container. Protected? Anchored. The doctor watched, absorbing. "Fragmentation requires anchors," Voldemort said. "Destroy the anchors, and the disease collapses." The doctor's head tilted. "Then this world has multiple infection sites," he said. Voldemort's laugh returned, pleased and cruel. "Yes." The doctor's gloves tightened slightly. This was bigger than he thought. He did not like big. He liked precise. Voldemort's voice turned sweeter. "Come to me," he said. "And I will show you the rest." The doctor's voice stayed even. "I will come when it is necessary," he said. "Not when you command." Voldemort's projection flickered with anger. Then it faded, but not before Voldemort left one last whisper in the air. "You have chosen your side, Doctor." The doctor looked at the fading darkness. "No," he said softly. "I have chosen my work." Then he turned back to his parchment, and he wrote a new plan. Not about Voldemort, about the boy. Because the boy was here, inside this castle, and the fragment inside him was active. The doctor could feel it. Hermione's hands were shaking when she stood in Dumbledore's office again, 2 nights later. She held a second typed page now. It was smudged and torn, like it had been ripped from a file and carried too long. At the top, it read, "Object Class." "Euclid," Hermione swallowed. "I found it in a hidden space," she said. "Near where we saw him disappear. It was tucked behind a loose stone." Ron whispered, "Like he left it." Harry stared at the page. His stomach was tight. "Why would he leave it?" Harry asked. Snape's eyes narrowed. "To be found," he said. "Or because he does not care." Dumbledore took the page gently and read. It described the doctor's behavior in simple, cold lines. It described his touch. It described his patience. It described the risk. Hermione's voice shook. "It calls him SCP-049, she said. Like that's his real label. McGonagall's face tightened. This foundation, it is real? She asked. Dumbledore's eyes stayed on the page. It seems so, he said quietly. Snape's jaw clenched, and it failed to keep him contained, he said. Hermione swallowed hard. It also says, she whispered, that he thinks he's saving people. Harry felt his chest burn. That doesn't help, he muttered. It helps us predict him, Dumbledore said. Harry looked up. How? Dumbledore's voice was calm. He will not stop, he said. He will not rest. He will pursue what he believes is the pestilence. Harry's scar prickled. He swallowed. Me, he whispered. Dumbledore didn't deny it. McGonagall's voice broke, fierce. Then we move him now, she said, before he reaches Harry. Snape nodded once. Tonight, he said, we can trigger the maze. Dumbledore's gaze went to Harry. You will remain in the Gryffindor common room under guard, he said. Do you understand? Harry's fists clenched. He wanted to argue. He wanted to be part of it. But he also remembered the fifth-year girl's blank eyes. He nodded. Yes, he said, voice tight. Hermione grabbed his sleeve, relief and fear mixing. Ron let out a breath, like he had been holding it for weeks. Dumbledore stood. Severus, he said. Minerva. We begin. The trap was not one spell. It was many spells stacked like walls. It began in a corridor near the old astronomy wing, where mirrors lined one side. The mirrors were not for vanity. They were old defense tools. They bent light and sound. They made aiming harder. They made fear louder. Snape had modified them. He had added wards that punished touch, not with pain, but with binding. Any direct skin contact inside the corridor triggered a tightening net of magic. McGonagall shaped the floor into shifting steps that only teachers could control. A staircase could become a ramp. A ramp could become a drop. A drop could become a sealed pit. Dumbledore added the final piece. A golden thread of magic ran through the corridor like a heartbeat. It was linked to the castle itself. It watched for one pattern, the Doctor's touch. If the Doctor attempted to touch a living being within the corridor, the trap would lock hard, not killing him, holding him, keeping him away from skin. That was the goal. Not victory, prevention. The Doctor walked into the corridor exactly when Dumbledore expected. Not because Dumbledore had called him, because the Doctor had been following symptoms. And Dumbledore had created a symptom, a false one. A controlled wave of soul disturbance, crafted from old magic and careful illusion. Not enough to harm anyone, just enough to feel real to a creature that hunted corruption. The Doctor stepped into the mirror corridor, head tilted. He carried his clipboard. Behind him, his patience followed, stiff and obedient. He paused and looked at the mirrors. His mask reflected back at him, copied 10 times. 20. He did not seem bothered. He wrote one note. Environment, reflective surfaces, possible sensory distortion. Then he moved forward. The corridor shifted. A staircase slid into place behind him, cutting off the way back. His patients turned, bumping into the new wall like confused animals. The Doctor watched them, calm. Then he looked ahead. Dumbledore stood at the far end of the corridor, alone. Not because he was reckless, because he was Dumbledore. The air around him felt like a locked gate. Doctor, Dumbledore said, voice clear. This ends tonight. The Doctor tilted his head. You are obstructing treatment, he replied. Dumbledore's eyes stayed steady. You are confusing murder with medicine, he said. The Doctor's voice stayed calm. Your fear clouds you, he said. Dumbledore did not argue further. He lifted his wand. The corridor lit with golden lines. The trap was active. The Doctor took one step forward, then another. Do not come closer, Dumbledore warned. Do not attempt to touch anyone in this corridor. The doctor paused. You are afraid of contact, he said, because you know it is effective. I know it is lethal, Dumbledore corrected. The doctor's head tilted. Lethal does not mean wrong, he said. Dumbledore's voice lowered. It does here. The doctor lifted his clipboard and held it out slightly, like a doctor offering a form. I have prepared consent, he said calmly. Dumbledore blinked once. Even now, the doctor's mind tried to turn horror into procedure. It will not be signed, Dumbledore said. The doctor's voice was quiet. Then the patient continues to suffer. A sound echoed behind the doctor. Footsteps. Snape emerged from a side archway with McGonagall and Tonks behind him. Kingsley appeared too, wand ready, face hard. The doctor's head turned slowly, taking in the group like he was counting staff in a ward. You have assembled a team, he observed. We have assembled a cage, Snape said, the doctor's glass eyes fixed on Snape. You are angry, he said. Anger is a symptom. Snape's mouth twisted. And you are a disease, he hissed. McGonagall's voice snapped. Enough, she said. Surrender. The doctor tilted his head. To whom? He asked. To the people you are harming, McGonagall said. The doctor's voice stayed calm. I am helping, he insisted. Then one of the patients behind him lurched forward, not toward the teachers, toward a side arch, because there was a faint noise there, a breath. Someone hiding. Harry. Dumbledore's heart dropped, because Harry had not stayed where he was told. Harry had slipped away. He had followed. He had hidden. He had wanted to see. Now he was in the corridor, and the doctor felt him like a flare. The doctor turned sharply for the first time in the entire story. Not panicked, focused, target locked. There, the doctor said softly. The severe case. Harry stepped back, eyes wide, wand shaking. Don't come near me, he snapped. Hermione appeared beside Harry, face white. Ron was behind them, terrified, but present. Harry, Hermione whispered, furious and scared. I told you. Harry didn't answer. His scar burned. His chest felt tight. The doctor moved one step toward them. Dumbledore's voice cut like iron. Stop, he said. The doctor did not stop. Snape fired at the doctor's feet, a spell that made the floor spike upward like teeth. The doctor stepped aside with calm precision. A patient took the spike instead, and fell, breaking on stone. The doctor did not look at the broken body. He kept moving toward Harry. Dumbledore lifted his wand. The golden thread in the corridor flared. The trap sensed the intent. The doctor raised his gloved hand, reaching, not yet touching, but about to. Harry's breath caught. He raised his wand like a shield. Hermione screamed, Harry, move! Harry stumbled backward. The doctor's glove brushed the air inches from Harry's cheek, and the trap snapped shut. Golden bands dropped from the ceiling like fast ropes. They wrapped around the doctor's wrist, elbow, shoulder, chest. They pinned his reaching arm back before the glove could touch skin. The doctor froze, not in fear, in surprise. He tested the bands once, gently, like testing a new restraint in a clinic. They didn't give. Snape's voice was sharp. Don't touch, he hissed. Do you understand now? The doctor's head tilted. You built a contact deterrent, he said calmly. Impressive. Dumbledore moved closer, keeping distance. His voice was firm. Your touch will not reach another child, he said. The doctor looked at Harry through the mask. The fragment will worsen, he said, voice quiet. It will spread harm. Harry's voice shook with anger. Voldemort did this to me, he snapped. Not you. You don't get to decide what happens to me. The doctor paused. Then very calmly, he said, "Suffering does not require permission." Hermione's voice cracked. "But you do," she said. "You do require permission. You wrote it yourself." The doctor's head tilted toward her. "Consent is ideal," he said. Hermione's eyes flashed. "Ideal is not optional," she snapped. For a second, the doctor was silent. Then the mirrors along the wall flickered, because Voldemort had been watching. A thin dark shimmer formed on the far mirror, like smoke pressed into glass. A voice slid into the corridor. "Well done," Voldemort purred. "You found him for me." Harry's scar flared so hard he cried out. Ron grabbed Harry's arm. Hermione stepped closer, shielding him with her body, even though she was smaller. Dumbledore's eyes went cold. "Tom," he said, voice flat. Voldemort's laugh was soft. "Albus," he answered, "still playing Guardian." The doctor turned his head toward the mirror. "You again," he said calmly. Voldemort's voice grew pleased. "And you," he said to the doctor, "have proven your worth, even trapped." Snape snapped, "Shut it!" and fired a curse at the mirror. The spell splashed off it like water. Voldemort laughed. "You cannot strike smoke," he mocked. Dumbledore stepped forward, wand raised. The air thickened. The mirror's dark shimmer trembled under the pressure of Dumbledore's magic. "Leave," Dumbledore commanded. Voldemort's voice sharpened. "Or what?" he hissed. Dumbledore's eyes did not blink. "Or I seal this corridor so deeply that even your eyes cannot reach it," he said. Voldemort paused. Then he spoke to the doctor, voice low and tempting. "Doctor," he said, "break his trap. Join me, and I will give you the anchors. All of them." The doctor was silent for a long moment. Everyone held their breath. Even Snape, even McGonagall. Because if the doctor accepted, the corridor could become a slaughterhouse. The doctor's voice finally came, calm as ever. "I refuse ownership," he said. Voldemort's voice turned icy. "Then you refuse power." The doctor corrected him. "I refuse your leash," he said. "I do not refuse my work." Voldemort's laugh died. "Then you are useless," Voldemort hissed. The doctor's head tilted. "Incorrect," he said. "I am simply not yours." Voldemort's anger pressed into the corridor like cold hands. The mirror shimmered darker. Then Voldemort did what Voldemort always did when he could not control someone. He attacked the weak points. The patience behind the doctor jerked. Their movements changed. They stopped acting like simple followers. They turned their blank eyes toward the teachers. Voldemort's voice was low. "Kill them," he ordered. The patience surged. Not at the doctor, at everyone else. The corridor exploded into motion. Kingsley fired binding spells, snapping chains of light around two patients. Tonks threw up a shield for Hermione and Ron, pushing them back behind a stone pillar. McGonagall transfigured the floor into a slick slope, sending two patients sliding away from the children. Snape moved like a knife, striking joints, breaking movement, sealing bodies into stone cuffs. Dumbledore held the center. His wand moved with calm control, sending golden bands to bind each patient without letting them reach skin. Harry's chest heaved. He watched the adults fight and realized how thin the line was between safety and death. The doctor stood in the golden bands, trapped, watching the chaos like a doctor watching a fever spike. "You see?" he said quietly, almost to himself. "Corruption spreads control," Snape snarled. "Now you care about control?" The doctor's head tilted. "I care about outcome," he replied. Dumbledore's voice cut through the fight. "Severus," he said. "Now." Snape flicked his wand. The mirrored corridor's second layer activated. The mirrors flashed bright white for half a second. Voldemort's dark shimmer screamed, not with sound, but with a pressure in the air, and snapped away like a hand pulled from fire. The connection broke. The patients faltered. Their movements slowed. Not because they became alive again, because the extra control vanished. They went back to simple, stiff obedience. Dumbledore bound the last patient with a smooth wave of his wand. Silence fell again, broken only by breathing. Harry leaned against the wall, shaking. Hermione's eyes were wet. Ron's hands were trembling. Dumbledore turned to the doctor. The doctor looked back. They stared at each other for a long moment, like two people who understood the weight of a choice. Dumbledore's voice was low. "Doctor," he said, "you have crossed every line this school stands for." The doctor's voice stayed calm. "Your lines do not erase sickness," he replied. Dumbledore nodded once. "No," he said, "but they protect children." He lifted his wand. A new doorway appeared at the far end of the corridor. Not a door made of wood, but a shimmering arch of light. It looked like the kind of magic used in the Department of Mysteries. Deep, careful, hard to break. "This is not a prison cell," Dumbledore said. "This is a sealed ward. You will live within it. You will have paper. You will have books we choose. You will have no bodies. No touch." The doctor tilted his head. "And my work?" he asked. Dumbledore's eyes stayed steady. "You may observe," he said. "You may write. You may advise on sickness you truly understand, but you will not treat anyone here." The doctor was silent. Then he said, "You are starving a surgeon of his tools." Dumbledore's voice stayed calm. "I am taking your knife away from children," he replied. Snape stepped closer, voice cold. "You accept," he said, "or we find a way to throw you back through whatever crack you crawled from." The doctor looked at Snape, then at McGonagall, then at Harry. He did not look afraid. He looked thoughtful. Then he lifted his clipboard again. He tore off the consent form he had written. He held it out toward Dumbledore. Dumbledore did not take it. The doctor's voice was quiet. "Consent for containment," he said. Snape let out a sharp laugh. "He wants you to sign it," he muttered. Dumbledore's eyes narrowed slightly. Then, slowly, Dumbledore took the parchment. He did not sign it like a joke. He signed it like a promise. Not to the doctor, to the students. The doctor watched the signature appear. Then he bowed once, slow and careful. "I accept containment," he said. "Temporarily." Dumbledore's voice was flat. "It will be as long as it must be," he said. The doctor stepped forward as the golden bands loosened just enough to guide him. He walked through the shimmering arch. The arch sealed behind him with a soft hum. The trap was over. But nothing felt finished, because the doctor did not look defeated. He looked busy, as if the ward was simply a new office, a new place to keep working. The next morning, the school learned two new things. First, the plague doctor had a name. Not Doctor, not the intruder, not the monster. SCP-049. Hermione had pushed for it, bringing the typed pages to McGonagall and then to the staff. Dumbledore allowed the name to spread among teachers so they could speak clearly about the threat. Students learned it through whispers anyway. Second, Umbridge did not get what she wanted. She stormed into Dumbledore's office with 2 aurors and a paper full of stamps. "I have an order," she said, shaking it like a weapon. "You will transfer SCP-049 to the Ministry for Study and Control." Dumbledore did not even stand up. "No," he said. Umbridge's smile cracked. "Headmaster," she hissed, "you cannot keep a dangerous entity inside a school." "I can," Dumbledore replied, "and I will." Umbridge slammed the paper onto his desk. "The minister will hear of this." Dumbledore's eyes lifted, calm and cold. "He already has," he said, "and he will learn that fear does not make him king in my castle." Umbridge's face flushed with rage. You are risking everyone, she spat. Dumbledore's voice stayed quiet. No, he said. I am preventing you from turning children into tools. Umbridge's eyes flicked, sharp. Tools, she whispered. Like Potter? Dumbledore's gaze hardened. Leave, he said. Umbridge's lips trembled with anger. Then she forced her smile back and stepped away. As she left, she did not look at the students in the hallway. She looked at the walls like she was already planning the next way to squeeze power out of stone. That night, Harry lay in bed, with his scar still tingling. Not from Voldemort's anger, from the thought of the doctor's glove inches from his face. He could not stop replaying it. Hermione sat on the edge of his bed, speaking softly so Ron wouldn't fully wake. You're safe, she whispered. Harry swallowed. Safe for now, he said. Hermione's eyes were tired. Dumbledore built a ward, she said. He won't let him out. Harry stared at the ceiling. That thing doesn't stop, he whispered. It will wait. It will plan. Hermione's voice was quiet. Then we plan too, she said. Ron mumbled in his sleep. No more doctors. Hermione almost smiled, but it faded fast. Harry turned his head toward her. Do you think he was right? He asked. Hermione froze. Right about what? Harry swallowed. About the fragment, he whispered. About something inside me that's wrong. Hermione's face softened, pained. Harry, she whispered. Even if something is inside you, you are not a disease. Harry blinked hard. He looked at me like I was a case, he said. Not a person. Hermione's voice sharpened, gentle but firm. Then he's wrong, she said. Because you choose. You fight. You care. That's what makes you you. Harry's throat tightened. He nodded once. Outside, the castle was quiet. But deep behind sealed magic, a quill scratched on paper. SCP-049 was writing, and Hogwarts could feel it, like a distant itch that would not fully go away. Madame Pomfrey walked the hospital wing alone in the early morning, before students woke. The beds were filled with sleeping children, some with bruises, some with shock, some with nightmares that still clung to them. She stopped beside the bed of the fifth-year girl who had died. The bed was empty now. They had buried her. They had said words. They had cried. But the hospital wing still remembered. Pomfrey stood there a long time, hands clasped tight. She hated that she could not fix this. She hated that she had watched a child turn into a patient. She moved on, checking each bed like she always did. Then she reached a door at the far end of the wing that had not been there a month ago. It looked simple. Stone frame. Plain handle. But the air around it felt heavy with wards. Pomfrey could hear something behind it. Not a voice. A sound. Scratch, scratch, scratch. Writing. She swallowed and stepped closer. Are you there? She asked, then hated herself for asking. A calm voice answered from behind the door. Yes, SCP-049 said. Pomfrey's skin went cold. You are not welcome here, she said, voice shaking. There was a pause. Then SCP-049 spoke again, still calm. I am where I must be, he said. The pestilence is here. Pomfrey's eyes filled with tears. She wiped them hard, angry at herself. You do not know what healing is, she whispered. Another pause, then softly. I know what suffering is, SCP-049 replied. Pomfrey stood frozen. Behind her, footsteps approached. Dumbledore entered quietly, robe sweeping the stone. He looked at Pomfrey's face and understood without her saying anything. He placed a gentle hand on her shoulder. We endure, he said softly. Pomfrey swallowed. Albus, she whispered. How long? Dumbledore's eyes stayed on the door. As long as it takes, he said. Pomfrey looked down the line of beds. Children breathing. children living. She nodded once, sharp. Then she walked away, because there were bandages to change, and fevers to reduce, and potions to prepare. Life continued. It had to. And somewhere behind sealed stone, SCP-049 wrote notes about a world he did not understand, in a castle that would never feel fully safe again. Not because it was weak, but because something polite and certain had arrived. Something that called killing a cure. And Hogwarts would spend a long time learning how to live with that kind of danger.